It is 3 in the morning. The house is still, wrapped in a profound silence that only the deepest hours of the night can offer. The world outside is asleep, but you are completely, painfully awake. Your body is tired, craving rest, yet your mind is a storm of activity. Thoughts flicker and race like a film on fast forward, each one demanding your full attention. A deadline at work looms large, a mountain of expectation you feel unprepared to climb. A bill you had forgotten about suddenly appears in your mind's eye, a stark reminder of financial pressure. You replay a conversation from yesterday, dissecting every word, every silence, wondering if you said the right thing or if you were misunderstood. Then, the vast, formless anxiety about the future descends, a heavy blanket of what-ifs that suffocates any chance of peace. This is not a rare occurrence. This is not a personal failing. This is the quiet epidemic of our time, a fever of the modern mind. We live in a world that shouts for our attention, a constant barrage of information, notifications, and demands. We are told to hustle, to optimize, to achieve more, to be more. We scroll through the highlight reels of other people's lives, and a subtle poison of comparison seeps into our hearts, telling us we are not enough. We search for peace in external things, believing the next vacation, the next promotion, the next relationship will finally deliver the tranquility we crave. Yet, we return from the holiday, we get the new job, and still, in the quiet moments, the restlessness remains. The chaos is not outside, it is within. But what if there was another way? What if peace is not a destination to be reached, but a quality to be cultivated? What if the antidote to the fever of the mind is not to add more, but to connect with something more deeply? There is an ancient wisdom, a path walked by countless souls for over 2,500 years, that offers not an escape, but a way through. It provides a map of our own inner world, and a set of practical tools to navigate its challenging terrain. This path teaches us to quiet the storm, not by fighting the waves, but by finding the unshakable stillness of the deep ocean beneath. And this profound journey can begin with a single, simple, transformative act. It begins with learning how to find gratitude, even in the midst of struggle, and allowing that quiet thankfulness to be the very last thing that cradles your mind as you finally drift into sleep. Let us begin then, by looking directly at this restlessness, this storm within the quiet house. This state of being has a name in the Buddhist tradition, a name that is both simple and profoundly accurate. It is called the monkey mind. Imagine a monkey in a tree, not content to stay on any single branch for more than a moment. It swings frantically from the past to the future, from a memory laced with regret to a fantasy tinged with anxiety. It leaps from a judgment about yourself to a speculation about another, grabbing onto a worry, then immediately discarding it for a fleeting desire. It is never still. It knows no peace. Our own minds, in their untrained state, are exactly like this monkey. They are restless, agitated, and seemingly impossible to tame. This is the engine that drives the sleepless nights, the inner monologue that never seems to have an off switch. It chatters, it criticizes, it worries, it desires, creating a constant, exhausting hum of internal noise. In our modern world, we have created the perfect jungle for this monkey mind to thrive. We have, in fact, cultivated an environment that seems intentionally designed to feed its frantic energy. Consider the small, glowing rectangle that is rarely more than an arm's length away. Our smartphone. It is a portal, not just to information or connection, but to endless agitation. Every notification, every buzz, every ping is a call for the monkey to swing to a new branch. An email from the boss arrives late at night, and the mind swings to the branch of work-related anxiety. A friend posts photos of a glamorous vacation, and the mind swings to the branch of comparison and envy. A news alert flashes with a headline of conflict or disaster, and the mind swings to the branch of fear and despair. We have fragmented our own attention into 1,000 tiny pieces, training our brains to crave constant stimulation, to feel uncomfortable with even a few moments of uninterrupted stillness. Our capacity for deep focus, for quiet contemplation, has been eroded, one swipe at a time. Layered on top of this digital deluge is the pervasive philosophy of our culture, the gospel of endless productivity. We call it the hustle culture. It is the belief that our value as a human being is directly proportional to our output, our achievements, our busyness. We are taught to optimize every moment, to turn hobbies into side hustles, to feel a sense of guilt when we are not actively producing or improving. Rest is seen not as a necessity, but as a luxury, or worse, a form of laziness. This creates a state of perpetual, low-grade tension. Our nervous systems are constantly in a state of activation, ready for the next task, the next challenge. We have forgotten how to simply be. The idea of sitting, without a goal, without a screen, without a task, can feel profoundly unsettling, even frightening, because when we stop doing, we are forced to feel. And the monkey mind, long ignored and overstimulated, begins to make its presence known. This brings us to a strange paradox, the one you experience in the dead of night. Why does the internal noise become a deafening roar precisely when the external world becomes silent? Throughout the day, the constant activity, the noise of traffic, the demands of work, the chatter of conversation, all serve as a powerful distraction. They are a buffer, a wall of sound that keeps us from having to listen too closely to the restless chatter within. But when night comes, when the distractions fall away, the buffer dissolves. The silence of the room creates a vacuum, and the untamed energy of the mind rushes in to fill it. It is like a dam breaking. All the anxieties, the fears, the regrets that were kept at bay by our busyness come flooding into our awareness. The silence does not create the noise, it simply reveals what was there all along. There is a story of a man who lived in a bustling city. The constant noise of carts, merchants, and crowds tormented him. "I cannot find peace with all this noise," he declared. So he sold his home and moved to the countryside. For a time, it was better, but soon he became agitated by the sound of the crickets chirping at night. "This chirping is maddening," he said. He then found a cave deep in the mountains, a place of profound stillness. He sat down, proud of having found perfect silence at last. But then he heard a sound, a rhythmic thumping sound. Thump, thump, thump. It was the sound of his own heart. And then he heard a roar, a rushing sound like a waterfall. It was the sound of the blood moving through his own ears. He finally realized, with a sense of despair, that he could not escape the noise because the noise was coming from inside him. The loudest sounds were the thumping of his own anxieties and the roar of his own ceaseless thoughts. This fundamental state of unease, this background hum of dissatisfaction that the man in the story discovered, also has a name. It is perhaps the most important concept in all of Buddhist thought. The word is dukkha. It is often translated simply as suffering, but this single English word is far too narrow, too dramatic. It fails to capture the subtle, pervasive nature of what it describes. Dukkha is not just the agony of intense pain or grief. It is the inherent friction of existence. It is the feeling that things are not quite right, the subtle stress of wanting things to be different than they are. It is the disappointment when a pleasant experience ends. It is the irritation when you are stuck in traffic. It is the vague anxiety of waiting for an important email. It is the perpetual feeling of seeking, of striving, of never being truly, deeply at rest. It is the itch you can't quite scratch. This is dukkha. It is the default setting of the untrained monkey mind, constantly swinging toward what it wants and away from what it doesn't, never content with the branch it is on. Now, upon hearing this, upon diagnosing this condition, the first reaction for many of us is one of self-blame. What is wrong with me? Why is my mind so chaotic? Why can't I just be happy? And here we arrive at the most compassionate and liberating truth. Experiencing the monkey mind, experiencing dukkha, is not a personal failure. It is not a sign that you are broken, or flawed, or doing something wrong. It is the universal condition of human life. This is the starting point for everyone. The Buddha, in his first great teaching, did not say, "Some of you are suffering." He declared the universal truth of dukkha. He presented it not as a moral failing, but as a noble truth, a reality to be understood with wisdom and compassion. To acknowledge your own restless mind, to see the subtle dissatisfaction in your life, is not a cause for despair. It is an act of profound courage and honesty. It is the first, essential step on any path toward genuine peace. You have simply stopped running from the noise. You have turned, with bravery, to face it. You have acknowledged the sickness. And so we stand here, together, in this shared understanding. We have given a name to the chaotic energy within, the monkey mind. We have seen the fertile ground upon which it thrives in our modern world, a world of digital distraction and relentless pressure, and we have given its pervasive feeling of unease a name, Dukkha, understanding it not as a personal flaw, but as a universal starting point, the first noble truth of our shared existence. To know the sickness is the first step toward healing. The next, vital step is to understand its cause. If this state of unease is the disease, then where does it come from? What are the deep roots that feed this restless dissatisfaction? For only by understanding the cause can we ever hope to find a cure. Having looked unflinchingly at the symptom, the pervasive unease of dukkha and the restless monkey mind, we can now venture deeper to the very root of the condition. A skilled physician, before offering a cure, must first understand the source of the infection. In the same way, the Buddha, as the great physician of the mind, did not stop at simply identifying our suffering. He looked with profound clarity to discover its cause. He found that all of our anxiety, our stress, our dissatisfaction, and our sorrow spring from three primary sources. They are known as the three poisons, for they contaminate our minds, cloud our vision, and corrupt our peace. To understand them is to begin the process of detoxification. These poisons are greed, aversion, and ignorance. Let us first examine greed. In the ancient texts, this is called lobha or tanha, which translates as thirst, craving, or clinging. It is that deep, gnawing feeling of lack, the persistent inner voice that whispers, "I am not complete. I need something more." It is the engine of the monkey mind, constantly seeking the next pleasurable thing, believing that if it can just grasp and hold on to it, it will finally be happy. In our modern consumer society, this poison is not only present, it is actively cultivated and celebrated. The entire industry of advertising is designed to induce this thirst, to create a sense of inadequacy that can only be soothed by the next purchase. It tells us our phone is outdated, our clothes are unfashionable, our car is unimpressive. It creates an endless treadmill of desire, where the satisfaction of a new acquisition is fleeting, lasting only until the next better thing appears on the horizon. But this greed is not limited to material possessions. We crave experiences. We feel a compulsion to travel to far-flung places, not just for the joy of it, but so we can capture the moment and display it, proving that we are living an exciting life. We crave status, recognition, and validation, measuring our worth in job titles, promotions, or the number of followers and likes we can accumulate online. We are thirsty for pleasant feelings, constantly seeking distraction and entertainment to avoid any contact with discomfort. The core of this poison is the fundamental belief that happiness is something to be found outside of ourselves, something to be acquired and consumed. There is a powerful parable that illustrates the nature of this thirst. Imagine a man shipwrecked and adrift on a life raft in the middle of a vast ocean. The sun beats down on him, and he is tormented by a raging thirst. All around him is water, endless and shimmering. In his desperation, he cups his hands, scoops up the ocean water, and drinks it deeply. For a single, fleeting moment, the coolness provides a sense of relief. But this relief is a lie. The salt in the water immediately courses through his body, making his dehydration, his thirst, 10 times more intense than before. In a panic, he drinks again and again and again. Each drink provides a momentary illusion of relief, followed by an ever-deepening agony of thirst. He is destroying himself in the very act of trying to save himself. This is a perfect metaphor for craving. Every time we indulge our greed, whether for a new gadget, a moment of praise, or a distracting entertainment, we may feel a flicker of pleasure. But it is the pleasure of salt water. It never truly quenches the underlying thirst of the mind. It only makes it stronger, deepening the cycle of seeking and dissatisfaction. The second poison is aversion, or dosa. It is the other side of the coin of greed. While greed is the pulling toward, the grasping, aversion is the pushing away, the rejection. It is the energy that says, "I don't want this. Get it away from me." This poison manifests in a spectrum of emotions, from the mildest irritation to the most intense hatred. It is the anger that flares up when another driver cuts you off in traffic. It is the simmering resentment you feel toward a difficult coworker. It is the frustration when technology fails to work as it should. It is the harsh judgment that arises when someone's beliefs or lifestyle choices differ from your own. We spend an enormous amount of mental energy resisting reality, fighting against what is. We create elaborate stories in our minds about how things should be, and then suffer when the world inevitably fails to conform to our demands. Aversion is a powerful form of bondage. We are chained to the people and situations we hate just as tightly as we are to the objects we crave. The person you cannot forgive occupies a space in your mind, rent-free, consuming your energy and disturbing your peace, perhaps long after they have forgotten the incident entirely. Pushing against the world is exhausting. It clenches the body and constricts the mind. Even when our aversion feels justified, as in the case of righteous anger against injustice, it can still be a poison if it is not held with wisdom. It can easily harden into hatred, creating a rigid sense of us versus them, which only deepens conflict and solidifies the very sense of a separate, embattled self that is the source of our troubles. Like greed, aversion is a source of profound restlessness, a constant battle against the flow of life itself. This leads us to the third and most fundamental poison. It is the root from which the other two grow. It is called moha, or ignorance. Now, it is crucial to understand that ignorance in this context does not mean a lack of intelligence or a lack of factual information. One can hold multiple PhDs, be an expert in many fields, and still be completely submerged in the poison of moha. This is not an intellectual ignorance, but a profound, perceptual blindness. It is the fundamental misapprehension of the nature of reality. It is like looking at the world through a distorted lens without realizing the lens is even there. What does this ignorance blind us to? Primarily, two fundamental truths. First, we are ignorant of the reality of impermanence. We live as though things are stable, solid, and lasting. We expect our health, our relationships, our youth, and our successes to continue indefinitely, and so we cling to them desperately. This clinging is greed. When, as they must, these things change, fade, or disappear, we are shocked and devastated. We push away the reality of loss, of sickness, of aging. This pushing away is aversion. Both our grasping and our rejecting are fueled by this core ignorance of the fluid, ever-changing nature of life. We are trying to build a permanent stone fortress on the surface of a flowing river. Second, and even more profoundly, we are ignorant of the true nature of ourselves. We operate under the delusion that there is a solid, separate, unchanging me at the center of our experience. An ego, a self, a soul. This me is the one who is thirsty, the one who craves. This me is the one who feels offended, the one who hates. We spend our entire lives polishing, defending, and gratifying this fictional self. But according to this ancient wisdom, if we look for this permanent self, we cannot find it. What we find instead is a constantly changing process of body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and awareness. Our ignorance of this truth, this selfless nature, is the bedrock upon which all suffering is built. These three poisons do not operate in isolation. They are locked in a toxic, self-perpetuating cycle. Imagine this. Out of a fundamental ignorance of our own inherent wholeness, we feel a sense of lack. This feeling of lack gives rise to greed, a craving for a new car that we believe will make us feel successful and happy. This greed drives us to work long hours, sacrificing our peace and well-being. Finally, we get the car. We are attached to it. It is a part of our identity. One day, another driver is careless and creates a small scratch on the door. Immediately, the poison of aversion erupts as white-hot anger and blame. We rage at the other driver. Our day is ruined. Our mind is consumed by negativity. This intense emotional reaction further clouds our judgment, deepens our conviction that our happiness depends on external things, and thus reinforces our underlying ignorance. And so the wheel turns, a vicious cycle of suffering, fueled by the three poisons, spinning endlessly. To see this cycle operating in our own lives is not a cause for despair, but a moment of incredible opportunity. We have moved from identifying the symptom, dukkha, to diagnosing its true cause. We see that our restlessness is not random, but is fed by the deep roots of greed, aversion, and ignorance. The diagnosis is clear. This is not a life sentence. This is the turning point. The great physician, having shown us the cause of the disease, did not leave us there. He then laid out a clear, practical, and profound path to healing. He offered the medicine. What then is this medicine? What is the path that leads out of this poison cycle and toward genuine, lasting peace? Having diagnosed the illness of pervasive dissatisfaction, the dukkha, and having uncovered its roots in the toxic soil of greed, aversion, and ignorance, we arrive now at the most crucial part of the physician's consultation. A diagnosis without a treatment plan offers only despair, but the Buddha, the great physician, did not leave humanity in that state. After he laid out the reality of suffering and its cause, he made a declaration of profound hope, the third noble truth, that an end to suffering is possible. And then he presented the fourth noble truth, the prescription, the medicine, the detailed, practical, and time-tested treatment plan for achieving that end. This prescription is known as the Noble Eightfold Path. It is essential, from the very beginning, to understand what this path is and what it is not. The word path can be misleading if we imagine it as a linear sequence of steps, where you must perfect step 1 before moving to step 2. It is more accurate to envision it as a majestic wheel with 8 spokes. Each spoke is essential for the wheel to be whole and to turn smoothly. They are not sequential, but are to be cultivated simultaneously, each one supporting and strengthening all the others. The word often translated as right, from the Pali word sama, also carries a deeper meaning than just correct versus incorrect. It can be understood as wholesome, skillful, or even complete. This is not a path of rigid, moralistic rules, but a practical guide for developing the skills to live a life of wisdom, integrity, and profound peace. The 8 factors of the path are traditionally grouped into 3 essential trainings. This helps us to see its beautiful, holistic structure. These are the trainings in wisdom, in ethical conduct, and in mental discipline. First, let us look at the training in wisdom, prajna. This is the foundation of seeing, the lens through which we learn to view the world with clarity, rather than through the distorted filter of the 3 poisons. It consists of 2 factors. The first is right view. This is nothing less than seeing reality as it is. It means understanding the 4 noble truths themselves, understanding the nature of dukkha, seeing its roots in craving and ignorance, realizing that freedom from it is possible, and accepting this very eightfold path as the way to that freedom. It is the cognitive shift, the aha moment, when we accept the doctor's diagnosis and trust in the prescribed cure. The second factor of wisdom is right intention. Once our view begins to clear, our intentions must align with that new vision. Right intention means consciously cultivating the motivations that lead to liberation. It is the intention of renunciation, which means a willingness to let go of our clinging and attachments. It is the intention of goodwill, a genuine wish for the happiness and well-being of all beings, which is the direct antidote to aversion. And it is the intention of harmlessness, or compassion, a deep desire that no being, including ourselves, should suffer. This is the direct antidote to cruelty and hatred. Right intention is the heart's resolve to purify itself. The second training is in ethical conduct, sila. If wisdom is how we see, ethical conduct is how we act in the world, based on that vision. It is about living in a way that causes no harm and creates a foundation of inner peace, free from guilt and remorse. This training has 3 factors. The first is right speech. This is the practice of using our words with skill and kindness. It means abstaining from lying, from divisive or slanderous speech that turns one person against another, from harsh words spoken in anger, and from idle chatter or gossip that serves no purpose but to agitate the mind. In our modern age, this extends to our emails, our text messages, and our comments on social media. It is a commitment to making our communication a source of truth, harmony, and healing. The second factor is right action. This involves our physical behaviors, committing ourselves to a life of non-violence. It means abstaining from taking life, from taking what is not freely given, and from sexual misconduct. It is a profound respect for the lives, property, and relationships of others, creating a safe and trustworthy presence in the world. The third factor is right livelihood. This means engaging in work and commerce that is honorable and does not bring harm to others. It is an encouragement to earn a living in a way that does not involve deception, exploitation, or dealing in things that cause suffering, such as weapons, poisons, or intoxicants. A peaceful life cannot be built upon a foundation that causes harm to others. The third and final training is in mental discipline, samadhi. This is the inner work, the direct training of the mind itself. It is here that we develop the strength and stability to truly walk the path. This training also has 3 factors. The first is right effort. This is the gentle but persistent energy we apply to our inner world. It is the effort to prevent unwholesome, negative states of mind from arising. It is the effort to abandon them if they have already arisen. It is the effort to cultivate wholesome, positive states of mind, like kindness and generosity, and it is the effort to maintain and perfect these positive states once they have arisen. It is the joyful diligence of a gardener tending to the mind. The second factor, which is the very heart of this entire meditative journey, is right mindfulness. This is the quality of moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness. It is the ability to pay attention to our body, our feelings, our thoughts, and the world around us without being swept away by them. It is the master skill that allows us to see the poisons arising so that we can apply the antidote of right effort. Finally, there is right concentration. As mindfulness becomes more stable and effort more consistent, the mind develops the ability to become unified and focused, to rest upon a single wholesome object without distraction. This leads to deep states of meditative calm, clarity, and insight, which in turn powerfully strengthen our right view. You can see how these 8 spokes form a perfect, self-reinforcing wheel. A clearer view and purer intention guide our speech and actions. Living ethically creates a mind free from remorse, which is the ideal soil for the practice of meditation. And the practice of mindfulness and concentration sharpens our awareness, allowing us to see reality even more clearly, further refining our view. It is a magnificent upward spiral, leading away from suffering and toward freedom. And what is the goal of this path? It is not to earn favor with a deity or to be reborn in a heavenly realm. The goal is nirvana, a state that can be realized in this very life. Nirvana literally means to extinguish or to blow out. What is extinguished? The fires of greed, aversion, and ignorance. It is the end of the frantic thirst, the end of the reactive pushing away, the end of the deluded view of reality. It is a state of profound, unshakable peace, boundless compassion, and perfect freedom. Every single step we take on this path, however small, helps to cool those fires and brings us closer to that peace, right here and now. So, here we have it, a complete map to the end of suffering. It can feel vast, even overwhelming. Where does one begin on such a comprehensive journey? The Buddha gave a very clear starting point. While all 8 factors are to be developed, the gateway, the foundational practice that illuminates all the others, is right mindfulness. Without mindfulness, we are not even aware of our intentions. We are not aware of our speech as it is happening. We are not aware of the subtle arising of greed or aversion in our minds. Mindfulness is the practice of switching on the light in the dark room of the mind. It allows us, for the first time, to see what is truly there. It is the beginning of all self-knowledge and the cornerstone of all inner transformation. Our journey, therefore, begins here. It begins with the cultivation of this gentle, moment-to-moment awareness. The logical, immediate question then becomes, how? How do we practice this right mindfulness in a simple, direct, and accessible way? We need an anchor, something to hold our attention to the present moment, something to bring the wandering monkey mind home. The great physician, in his wisdom, prescribed the most fundamental, universally available anchor there is. It is an anchor that is with you from the moment of your birth to the moment of your death. It requires no special equipment, no particular belief, and it is always freely available. That anchor is your own breath. The map to peace, the noble eightfold path, lies before us. We have identified our starting point, the cultivation of right mindfulness, and we have been given our primary tool, the most simple, reliable, and intimate tool we possess, the breath itself. So now, we move from the realm of theory into direct, lived experience. This is an invitation. Wherever you are, if it is possible, take a moment to settle. You do not need a special cushion or a silent room, though those can be helpful. You can be sitting in a chair, on a bus, or on the edge of your bed. The only requirement is a willingness to be still for a few moments. Allow your body to find a posture that embodies both dignity and ease. Let your spine be relatively straight, but not rigid, like a mountain that is both solid and relaxed. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Allow your hands to rest gently in your lap or on your knees. You can let your eyes softly close, or if you prefer, you can leave them slightly open, with a soft, unfocused gaze directed toward the floor, a few feet in front of you. There is nowhere to go, and nothing to achieve. The invitation is simply to arrive, right here, in this body, in this moment. The practice we are about to explore has an ancient name. It is called Anapanasati. This may sound complex, but its meaning is beautifully simple. Ana means in-breath, apana means out-breath, and sati, as we know, means mindfulness. So, this is the simple, profound practice of mindfulness of breathing. It is the art of paying attention to the breath as it moves, without interfering with it in any way. Before we begin the how, let us briefly touch upon the why. On a purely biological level, this practice is a powerful form of medicine for the modern, overstimulated mind. Our nervous system has two main branches. The sympathetic nervous system is our accelerator, our fight or flight response. It is the system of stress, adrenaline, and high alert. It is the system that is chronically overactivated by our hustle culture, our deadlines, and our constant digital notifications. The other branch is the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest system. It is the brake. It is the system of calm, recovery, and ease. The breath is the master key that allows us to consciously switch from the accelerator to the brake. When we intentionally place our awareness on the natural, rhythmic flow of the breath, we send a direct signal to our brain and body that we are safe. The heart rate slows, the blood pressure lowers, the muscles begin to release their tension. We are communicating with our own biology in its most ancient language, letting it know that it can stand down from high alert. So, let us begin the practice itself. Having settled into your posture, bring your awareness to the fact that you are breathing. For the first few moments, you might simply notice the breath, perhaps taking one or two slightly deeper breaths than usual. Breathing in, feel the lungs expand. Breathing out, feel the body soften. Now, let the breath return to its completely natural rhythm. You do not need to control it, change it, or improve it in any way. The body knows how to breathe. Your task is not to be the breather, but to be the observer of the breathing. Your only job is to feel the physical sensations of each breath as it happens. To do this, it can be helpful to rest your attention in one specific area of the body, where the sensation of the breath is most clear to you. For some, this is at the tip of the nostrils. You might feel the subtle coolness of the air as it enters, and the slight warmness of the air as it leaves. There is no need to imagine it. Just feel the direct, physical sensation. For others, the sensation might be more apparent in the chest, feeling the gentle rise and fall with each respiratory cycle. And for others still, the sensation is most vivid in the abdomen, feeling the soft expansion on the in-breath and the gentle release on the out-breath. There is no correct place. Simply choose one of these anchor points and let your attention rest there, as lightly as a butterfly resting on a flower. Now, simply watch. Feel one in-breath from its beginning through its middle to its very end, and then feel one out-breath from its beginning to its middle to its very end. That is all. You are not trying to achieve a special state. You are not waiting for something spectacular to happen. You are simply becoming intimate with the most basic rhythm of your own life. In and out, rising and falling, coolness and warmth. There is no need to label the breath with words. Just feel the raw, physical sensations. Now, something important will happen. It is not a matter of if your mind will wander, but only a matter of when. This is not a mistake. It is not a failure. It is simply what minds do. A thought about your to-do list, a memory from the past, a sound from the street, a worry about the future will arise, and it will hook your attention. The monkey mind will grab the leash and pull you away from the breath. You might be lost in thought for a few seconds, or a few minutes, before you even realize you've been gone. Here we can use a helpful image. Imagine your mind is a small boat, floating in a safe harbor. The weather of the world, the stresses, the demands, the interactions are the winds and the waves that constantly rock the boat and push it out to the open sea. Your thoughts are the powerful currents that can silently carry you far from shore. The practice of mindfulness is not about trying to stop the wind or calm the ocean. That is impossible. The practice is about dropping a heavy, reliable anchor. The breath is that anchor. So when you are sitting and you notice that the winds and currents of thought have carried your boat far away, what do? You don't get angry at the boat. You don't yell at the ocean. You simply, gently, pick up the anchor rope your awareness and you guide the boat back to its safe harbor, back to the feeling of the breath. The most important discovery in this practice is this. The moment you realize your mind has wandered, that very moment of aha, I've been lost in thought, is the moment of mindfulness. It is a moment of success, not failure. It is a moment of waking up from the dream of thinking. In that moment, the instruction is simple. First, you acknowledge where you have been, perhaps with a soft mental note of thinking or worrying. You do this without judgment, without scolding yourself. Then, you gently let go of that train of thought. You don't need to follow it or analyze it, you just release it. And finally, with great kindness, you guide your attention back to the physical sensations of the breath, back to the anchor, in and out. This entire cycle breathing, getting lost in thought, waking up, and gently returning, this is the practice. It is a bicep curl for the brain, strengthening the muscle of attention and the muscle of self-compassion every single time you do it. As you continue this practice, you may begin to see the breath not just as a tool, but as a faithful companion. It is the most loyal friend you will ever have. It was with you when you took your first gulp of air as a newborn. It was with you during your moments of greatest triumph and your nights of deepest sorrow. It is with you right now, in this moment, and it will be with you until your very last moment of life. It asks nothing of you, and yet it sustains you continuously. Furthermore, the breath is always, unfailingly, in the present moment. You cannot take a breath that is in the past. You cannot take a breath that is in the future. To be fully with the breath is to be fully in the now, the only place where life ever truly unfolds. To anchor to the breath is to anchor yourself to reality itself. This practice of anchoring gives us a stable platform, a place of refuge from the storms of the mind. From this place of relative calm and stability, we can then begin to do something truly remarkable. We can start to observe the very contents of our minds, the thoughts, the feelings, the memories that toss our little boat around not as enemies to be silenced or problems to be solved, but simply as natural events to be witnessed with clarity. We can learn to sit on the bank of the river of our mind and watch the thoughts float by like leaves on the water, without needing to jump into the current and be swept away. Having found our anchor in the gentle, reliable rhythm of the breath, we have created a safe harbor, a place of stability, from which we can begin to observe the weather of our own minds. We have learned to notice when the boat of our awareness has been pulled away by the currents of thought, and we have practiced, with kindness, guiding it back to the breath. Now, we are ready for the next stage of this inner exploration. We are ready to sit on the bank of the river of the mind and learn the art of watching the contents of that river flow by without needing to jump in. This is the practice of observing thought with non-judgmental awareness. The invitation is this. As you rest your attention on the anchor of the breath, gently widen the scope of your awareness to include the activity of the mind itself. Do not try to stop your thoughts. This is a futile and frustrating endeavor, like trying to command the ocean to be still. The mind's nature is to produce thoughts, just as a gland's nature is to secrete hormones. The goal is not to achieve a blank mind, but to cultivate a spacious and peaceful mind. And this peace is found not by eliminating thoughts, but by changing your relationship to them. To help us in this, let us use a powerful image. Imagine that your awareness, your consciousness, is like a vast, open, brilliant blue sky. Your thoughts, emotions, and sensations are like the clouds that drift through that sky. Some clouds are white and fluffy. These are your pleasant thoughts and happy memories. Some are dark and heavy, even menacing. These are your fears, your anxieties, your resentments. Throughout our lives, We have been conditioned to believe that we are the clouds. When a dark cloud of sadness appears, we say, "I am sad." When a stormy cloud of anger forms, we say, "I am angry." We contract around the cloud, identify with it completely, and are tossed about by its weather. The practice of mindfulness invites a radical shift in perspective. It invites you to realize that you are not the cloud, you are the sky. The sky is not afraid of the storm clouds. It does not try to cling to the beautiful, wispy clouds. It allows all of them to arise, to be present for a time, and to pass away, all in their own accord. The sky itself remains unstained, unharmed, and unchanged by the clouds that pass through it. We can learn to cultivate this same sky-like quality of mind, spacious, accepting, and fundamentally peaceful. Another helpful image is the one we touched upon earlier. Sitting on the bank of a river, your thoughts are like leaves, twigs, or bits of debris floating on the surface of the water. As you sit, anchored by the breath, you simply watch a thought appear, like a leaf entering your field of vision. You note its presence. Perhaps it is a planning thought, "I need to remember to buy milk." You see the leaf, you acknowledge it, and then you allow the current of the river to carry it downstream and out of sight, returning your primary attention to the anchor of the breath. Then, another leaf appears. Perhaps a memory, a scene from childhood. You see it, you acknowledge it, and you let it float by. Then a heavy log of worry appears. You see it, you acknowledge its weight and its texture, and you let that too float by. The practice is to remain on the bank, to not jump into the river and get swept away by the current of every single thought. This practice leads to a profound uncoupling, a creation of space where there was once none. This is the distinction between having a thought and being a thought. Normally, these two are fused together. The thought, "I am not good enough," arises, and instantly, we are the feeling of inadequacy. We are contracted, defensive, and suffering. Through mindfulness, we learn to insert a moment of awareness. The thought arises, and we can now see it with clarity. "Ah, I am having the thought that I am not good enough." Can you feel the difference? In the first instance, it is a statement of absolute truth. In the second, it is the observation of a transient mental event. It is the difference between being hopelessly lost in a scary movie and suddenly realizing you are actually sitting safely in a theater, watching images flicker on a screen. That realization doesn't necessarily stop the scary images from appearing, but it completely changes your relationship to them. You are no longer their victim. This space, this uncoupling, is the beginning of freedom. To help us stay on the riverbank and not get swept away, we can use a simple and skillful technique, mental labeling. When you notice a thought has captured your attention, you can, very gently, give it a soft, one-word label. This is not a deep analysis. It is a simple recognition of the type of mental activity. If you find yourself rehearsing an upcoming conversation, you can just whisper in your mind, "Planning." If you are caught in a loop of anxiety about the future, you can note, "Worrying." If a memory from the past appears, "Remembering." If you are criticizing yourself or someone else, "Judging." The label is not meant to be another thought to get lost in, but a tool to acknowledge the thought without getting entangled in its storyline. The act of labeling reinforces your position as the observer, the witness. It is a gentle nudge that reminds you to let the leaf float by and to return your awareness to the anchor of the Anapana, the in and out breath. When we practice in this way, something remarkable begins to happen. We start to see that our thoughts, especially the persistent, negative, and obsessive ones, derive their power from our unconscious involvement with them. A negative thought loop is like a fire. Our attention, our belief, our emotional reaction, these are the logs we keep throwing on the fire, keeping it blazing. By observing our thoughts with detached, non-judgmental awareness, we are simply ceasing to add more fuel. We are not trying to douse the fire with water, which can often create a messy cloud of steam. We are just sitting back and allowing it to burn itself out. The thoughts may still arise out of habit, but they become more transparent, less solid. They have less of a gravitational pull, less of an emotional charge. We are not at war with our thoughts. We are simply withdrawing the resources that allow them to wage war on us. There is a timeless Zen story that beautifully illustrates this process. Two monks, one old and one young, were on a long journey. They came to a river where the current was strong. A beautiful young woman stood there, hesitating, afraid to cross. Without a second thought, the old master walked over, hoisted the woman onto his shoulders, carried her across the turbulent water, and set her down gently on the other side. He bowed, and the two monks continued their journey. For hours, they walked in silence. The young monk's mind, however, was a storm of agitation. He was fuming. He replayed the scene over and over. How could he do that? We are monks. We have taken vows not to touch a woman. It was a violation. He has set a terrible example. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, he burst out. Master, I must speak. What you did back there at the river was completely inappropriate. You broke your vows by touching that woman. The old monk looked at his young companion with a calm, compassionate gaze. He smiled softly and said, I left that woman by the riverbank hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? We are all, in our own ways, like that young monk. We carry events, conversations, slights, and judgments with us for hours, days, weeks, or even years after they are over. We allow the thoughts about the event to cause us far more suffering than the event itself. The practice of watching the river of thoughts is the practice of learning to leave things by the riverbank. It is the art of letting go, moment by moment. So the practice is this. We find our anchor in the breath. We cultivate the spaciousness of the sky-like mind. We sit on the bank and watch the river of thoughts, not judging, not clinging, not pushing away. We learn to see that a thought is just a thought. But this leads to a new, important question. Thoughts are often not just words or images. They are intimately connected to feelings in the body. The thought, he insulted me, is not just a sentence. It can come with a hot flush of anger in the chest, a clenching in the jaw, a surge of energy through the limbs. How do we work with these powerful, visceral, and often painful sensations? How do we apply this same non-judgmental awareness, not just to the leaves on the river, but to the very currents of emotion that move beneath them? Having learned to sit on the riverbank, to watch the endless flow of thoughts and feelings without being swept away, we can now turn our attention to the nature of the river itself. The most fundamental truth of a river is that it is always in motion. The water that passes you now will never pass you again. It is a constant, dynamic, unfolding process. This is not only the nature of our minds, it is the nature of everything. This universal truth of constant change has a name in the Buddhist tradition. It is called anicca, impermanence. To understand anicca, not just as an idea, but to feel it as a deep, visceral truth, is to hold one of the master keys that unlocks the door to freedom from suffering. At first glance, the idea of impermanence can sound pessimistic or even nihilistic, but this is a profound misunderstanding. Anicca is not a dark philosophy. It is a simple, observable fact of reality. It is a law as fundamental as gravity. Everything that comes into being is subject to change and will eventually pass away. There are no exceptions. Let us look at this truth in the different domains of our lives. Consider your own body. From the moment of your conception, it has been in a state of ceaseless flux. Cells are born, they live, and they die in the trillions. The child's body you once inhabited is gone. The teenage body is gone. The body you had even 1 year ago is gone, replaced by a new configuration of cells. We live in a torrent of physical change, a process of growth, maintenance, and decay. Consider your feelings. No emotional state is permanent. A wave of joy arises, crests, and inevitably subsides. A pang of loneliness comes, and it, too, passes. A flash of anger flares up, and it cools down. We expend so much energy trying to cling to the pleasant feelings, to make them last, and trying to violently push away the unpleasant ones, wishing they would vanish instantly. In both cases, we are fighting a losing battle against the natural, fluid rhythm of our own hearts. Our thoughts, too, are ephemeral. An opinion we held with absolute certainty a decade ago may now seem naive. A belief that once defined us can dissolve in the face of new experience. The entire landscape of our mind is constantly shifting, like clouds reforming in the sky. Our relationships, our possessions, the world itself all are subject to this universal law. Friends move away, loved ones pass on, treasured objects break or are lost. The seasons turn, mountains slowly erode, and even the stars in the night sky are engaged in a cosmic dance of birth and death over aeons. Nothing is static. Everything is a verb, a process, a dance. Now, it is essential to understand this. Anicca itself is not the cause of our suffering. Change is not suffering. The rain is not suffering. The wind is not suffering. The law of impermanence is as neutral as the law of gravity. The suffering arises from one place and one place only, our resistance to this truth. Our suffering is the friction generated when our deep-seated desire for permanence collides with the undeniable reality of impermanence. In our ignorance, we believe that happiness can be found by building a solid, permanent shelter of pleasant experiences, possessions, and relationships. We try to grasp and hold on to the pleasant, to freeze the river of life at a moment of sunshine and warmth. And so, when the river inevitably flows on, when the weather changes, when the flower wilts, when the loved one leaves, we feel shocked, betrayed, and devastated. We cry out, "This shouldn't be happening," but the universe whispers back, "This is the only way things ever happen." Our suffering is the measure of our argument with reality. When we can begin to soften this resistance, when we can start to accept impermanence as the very texture of life, a remarkable transformation occurs. The philosophy that seemed pessimistic reveals itself as the gateway to profound appreciation. Imagine you are watching a magnificent sunset. The sky is ablaze with impossible colors of orange, pink, and purple. Part of what makes this experience so beautiful, so poignant, is the knowledge that it is fleeting. It is changing before your very eyes and will soon be gone, giving way to the darkness of night. If that exact sunset were a permanent fixture in the sky, we would soon grow bored of it. We would take it for granted and cease to even notice it. It is the very fact of its passing that makes us pay attention, that makes us present, that fills us with a sense of wonder and awe. This same principle applies to all of life. To know, truly know, that your time with a beloved partner, child, or friend is finite, is to understand that every moment shared is infinitely precious. It cuts through the trivial annoyances and the habit of taking them for granted. To know that a moment of simple joy, the taste of fresh water when you are thirsty, the warmth of the sun on your skin is a temporary gift, is to savor it completely, to inhabit it fully, without the anxious pressure of trying to make it last forever. Embracing anicca is the ultimate cure for the disease of someday. It calls us to live our lives now, because now is the only time we ever have. There is a powerful and ancient story that illustrates this journey from resisting impermanence to embracing it. A young woman named Kisa Gautami had a single infant son whom she adored above all else. One day, the child fell ill and died. Overcome with a grief so vast it verged on madness, she refused to accept his death. She clutched the small, lifeless body to her chest and went from house to house, desperately begging for a medicine that could restore her son. Some people mocked her, others turned away in pity, but no one could help. Finally, a wise old man, seeing her inconsolable pain, told her, "I cannot give you medicine for your son, but I know a physician who can. Go to the Buddha." Kisa Gautami ran to the Buddha and laid her child at his feet. "Lord, can you give me the medicine that will cure my boy?" she pleaded. The Buddha looked at her with infinite compassion and said, "I can. But first, you must do one thing. You must go into the village and bring me back a single mustard seed from a house where no Wanino child, no spouse, no parent, no Savanthus ever died." Filled with a sudden surge of hope, Kisa Gautami went to the first house. "The Buddha has sent me for a mustard seed to cure my son. Can you give me one?" The woman of the house said, "Of course." But when Kisa Gautami added the condition, "From a house where no one has ever died," the woman's face fell. "Oh, lady," she said, "the living are few, but the dead are many. Please do not remind us of our deepest grief. We lost our father just last year." Kisa Gautami went to the next house, and the next, and the next. The story was the same everywhere. Every family had a story of loss. Every heart bore the scars of impermanence. As the sun began to set, the truth of the Buddha's teaching began to dawn on her, not as an idea, but as a deep, unshakable reality. Her grief, which had felt so intensely personal, so uniquely hers, was revealed to be a universal sorrow, the shared inheritance of all human beings. She was not alone in her pain. She saw that death was not a cruel anomaly that had struck her family. It was a natural law of existence. With this profound understanding, the frantic, desperate energy of her personal grief softened and dissolved into a vast, compassionate acceptance. She took the body of her son to the charnel ground, let him go, and returned to the Buddha, her heart broken, but also, for the first time, open and at peace. This is the lesson of anicca. Accepting impermanence does not mean we will not feel sadness or grief when we experience loss. We have human hearts, but it changes the quality of that grief. It removes the layer of shock, of protest, of feeling that we have been uniquely punished by life. It allows us to grieve with a softer, more compassionate, and more resilient heart. It allows us to see our own sorrows as part of the great, flowing river of life itself. And so, this profound truth leaves us with a question. If everything in our lives are bodies, our thoughts, our feelings, our relationships, our very world is as fleeting as a sunset, as transient as a dream, as impermanent as a falling leaf, then how should we live? If we cannot permanently hold on to anything, what is the most sane, the most wise, the most heartfelt response to this beautiful and heartbreaking dance of existence? When we truly understand that every moment is a precious, unrepeatable gift that will soon be gone, one response naturally arises in the heart, a response that is the perfect fruit of wisdom. That response is gratitude. Having stood in the vast, humbling presence of anicca, the universal truth of impermanence, we are left with its essential question. In a world where everything is a fleeting gift, how shall we live? The answer, the most sane and heartfelt response to the precious, transient nature of existence, is not one of resignation or despair. It is the response that arises naturally when wisdom blossoms in the heart. That response is gratitude. Gratitude is the practical magic we can wield in the face of a constantly changing world. It is the quiet, powerful acknowledgement of the grace that is woven into the fabric of every moment. In our everyday language, gratitude is often a passive affair, a polite thank you for a birthday present or a kind gesture. But in the context of this path, gratitude is something far more active, more intentional. It is a practice. It is a conscious retraining of the mind. It is a deliberate shift in perspective, away from the mind's default habit of scanning for what is wrong, what is missing, or what is lacking, and toward a conscious recognition of what is present, what is whole, and what is good. Our untrained monkey mind is a master of seeing the single dead leaf on an otherwise vibrant, healthy tree. It will fixate on the one critical comment in a sea of praise. It is a scarcity detecting machine, and this constant focus on lack is the very source of the unease of dukkha. The practice of gratitude is the intentional act of turning our attention to the thousands of living, green leaves, to the solid trunk, to the nourishing rain. It is a choice to see the fullness that is already here. To begin this practice, we do not need to look for grand, spectacular things to be grateful for. The power of this practice lies in its simplicity, in its ability to find richness in the mundane, the overlooked, the ordinary. We can start with the most intimate and obvious gift of all, the breath. For countless moments today, your body has been breathing itself, a constant, effortless exchange with the world, sustaining your life without any conscious command from you. To pause, and to feel the simple sensation of one in-breath and one out-breath, and to feel a sense of thanks for this life-giving rhythm, is a profound act of gratitude. We can turn to the body itself. So often we see it as a source of trouble. It aches, it ages, it falls ill, it doesn't look the way we want it to. But a grateful mind can choose to see it differently. It can feel gratitude for the eyes that are able to see the color of the sky, for the ears that can hear the voice of a loved one, for the legs that carry us from one place to another, for the heart that beats 100,000 times a day in a faithful, tireless rhythm. We can extend this awareness to our immediate surroundings. Do you have a roof over your head, a shelter from the rain and the cold? This is a source of profound gratitude. Do you have food to eat? To pause before a meal and consider the vast interconnected web of life that brought this food to your platetha sun, the soil, the rain, the farmer, the truck driver, the grocerist, to transform the simple act of eating into a meditation on interdependence and a moment of deep thankfulness. This practice is not about ignoring difficulty or pretending that everything is perfect. It is about recognizing that even in a life that contains hardship, there are still, always, concurrent streams of grace. This shift in focus reveals a critical distinction between two different approaches to happiness. The first is the world's default model, conditional happiness. This is the formula of the ego, the constant refrain of the monkey mind. It sounds like this: I will be happy when I get the promotion. I will be at peace when I pay off my debts. I will feel content when I find the perfect partner. In this model, happiness is always located in the future. It is a destination that is perpetually just over the horizon, contingent upon achieving the next thing, acquiring the next object, fixing the next problem. It is the logic of the saltwater thirst, a constant seeking that never leads to lasting satisfaction. Gratitude offers a radically different path, the path of unconditional joy. This joy is not dependent on future outcomes. It is grounded in the present reality. Its formula sounds like this: I can feel a sense of joy right now because the sun is warming my skin. I can feel peace right now because I can taste the rich flavor of this tea. I can feel contentment right now because my body is breathing and my heart is beating. Gratitude relocates the source of happiness from an imagined future to the tangible present. It reveals that the richness we are so desperately seeking on the outside is already available within us, in our capacity to appreciate the simple, given reality of the moment. Seen in this light, gratitude reveals itself to be the most potent antidote to the three poisons that we spoke of earlier. It is the direct medicine for a mind afflicted by craving, aversion, and ignorance. Consider the poison of greed, the endless thirst for more. A mind that is genuinely full of thanks for what it has possesses a natural contentment. The feeling of I have enough is the polar opposite of the feeling of I need more. Gratitude fills the inner space that craving tries to occupy. It is impossible to be simultaneously consumed by a thirsty greed and filled with a sincere appreciation for what is already yours. Consider the poison of aversion, especially in its modern form of comparison and envy. Envy is a state of suffering that arises from meticulously comparing what you lack with what someone else appears to have. It is a painful focus on your own perceived scarcity. Gratitude dismantles this painful comparison by turning your attention 180 degrees back toward your own life, your own blessings, your own unique journey. It is very difficult to feel the bitter sting of envy when your heart is occupied with counting your own gifts. Gratitude softens the mind, making it less likely to fall into the harsh, judgmental states of anger and ill will. A grateful heart is a gentle heart. There is a story of a wealthy merchant who, despite his vast fortune, was miserable. He was plagued by anxiety, sleepless nights, and a constant fear of losing what he had. He heard tales of a simple monk who lived in a hut in the forest, who owned nothing but was said to be the most joyful and peaceful man in the entire kingdom. Driven by curiosity and despair, the merchant made the long journey to the monk's hut. He found the monk sitting peacefully, mending a worn robe. He had a simple wooden bowl for his food, and nothing else. The hut was bare. "Venerable sir," the merchant began, "I am a man of great wealth, yet I am miserable. You have nothing, yet they say you are the happiest of men. How can this be? What is your secret?" The monk looked up from his mending and smiled, his eyes radiant with peace. "You are mistaken, my friend," he said softly. "You believe that I have nothing, but I have everything I could ever possibly need. I have the air I breathe, the water from the stream, the shelter of this forest, and a mind that wants for nothing more. Therefore, I am the wealthiest man alive." He then looked at the merchant with great compassion. "You, on the other hand, believe you have much, but because your desires are endless, because you are always afraid of losing what you have, and always scheming to get more, you live in a state of perpetual poverty. You are poor because you never have enough. True wealth, you see, is not found in having much, but in wanting little. This is the heart of gratitude. It is the discovery of the inner wealth that is always available, regardless of our external circumstances. It is the wisdom of the contented heart. We have now seen why gratitude is so fundamental. It is the wisest response to an impermanent world. It is the foundation of unconditional joy. It is the direct antidote to the poisons of the mind. But like any profound skill, like learning a musical instrument or tending a garden, it must be practiced. It is not enough to simply agree with the idea of gratitude. We must actively cultivate it, sow its seeds in the soil of our daily lives, and water it with our attention. To do this, we need a simple, concrete method, a ritual, to help us make this shift of perspective a deeply ingrained habit. And there is no more potent time to practice this than in the sacred, quiet moments just before we surrender to sleep. We have arrived at a place of profound understanding. We see that in the face of an ever-changing world, gratitude is the wisest response. We see that it is the key to unlocking a joy that is not dependent on circumstance, and the most potent medicine for the poisons of the mind. But understanding, as powerful as it is only the map. To get to our destination, we must take the first step. We must move from the intellectual knowledge of why we should be grateful to the embodied practice of how to be grateful. The question now becomes, how do we weave this golden thread of thankfulness into the fabric of our daily lives? The answer is found in a simple, gentle, and transformative ritual. It is a practice to be undertaken at the end of the day as a final, kind offering to your own mind before you release it into the realm of sleep. Think of it as preparing the soil of your consciousness for a night of deep and restorative rest. So much of our trouble with sleep comes from what we do in the moments just before it. We often carry the full momentum of the day's anxieties, frustrations, and unfinished business with us into our beds. We lie in the dark, and the monkey mind, fueled by the day's tensions, runs wild. This practice is a conscious interruption of that pattern. It is a decision to end the day not with a review of your grievances, but with a quiet accounting of your graces. So, as you settle into your bed, as you feel the weight of your body supported and held, let this be your invitation. Let go of the posture of the day. Release the armor. Gently allow your eyes to close. Take 3 slow, conscious breaths. Breathing in, acknowledge the day that has passed. Breathing out, let go of its tensions. Breathing in, gather your awareness. Breathing out, allow a sense of softness to enter your body. Now, the practice itself is wonderfully simple. The invitation is to let your mind gently scan back over the hours of your day, from the time you woke up this morning until this very moment. Let it drift back like watching a silent, gentle film. And from that film, your task is to identify just 3 specific things for which you feel a sense of gratitude. The key here is specificity. It is easy to say, I'm grateful for my family, and that is a beautiful sentiment. But for this practice, we go deeper. Instead of that general statement, you might recall the specific moment this morning when your child told you a funny joke, and you can remember the sound of their laughter. Instead of a general, I'm grateful for my health, you might feel gratitude for the simple, physical pleasure of a warm shower, the feeling of the water washing away the fatigue of the day. Instead of, I'm grateful for my work, you might recall a single satisfying email you sent, a small task you completed, or a brief, pleasant interaction with a colleague. These specific, tangible moments are the building blocks of a grateful heart. Once you have brought to mind the first specific moment, the second, and most important, step is to move from listing to feeling. This is not a mechanical checklist to be rushed through. The real transformation happens when you allow yourself to embody the feeling of gratitude. So, with the first memory in your mind, pause. Recreate it in your awareness. What did you see? What did you hear? And then, ask yourself this gentle question. Where do I feel the gratitude in my body? Can you sense it as a warmth spreading through your chest, a softening around your heart, a gentle smile forming on your lips without you even trying? There is no right or wrong answer. Just notice the physical echo of the emotion. Rest with that sensation for a few breaths. Let your body absorb the feeling of appreciation. Then, let that memory go and move to the second one, repeating the process, and then the third. The beauty of this practice is that it trains us to find the extraordinary in the ordinary. On some days, the things to be grateful for will be large and obvious: a promotion, good news, a celebration. But on most days, the gems are small, hidden in plain sight. They might be the taste of your first cup of coffee in the morning, the comfort of your favorite sweater, the beauty of a particular cloud you noticed on your way home, a song on the radio that perfectly matched your mood, the feeling of satisfaction after cleaning a room, the unconditional silent companionship of a pet. By actively looking for these small moments of grace, we begin to notice more of them, not just at the end of the day, but throughout the day itself. We are retraining our brains to hunt for the good. This practice is, in a very real sense, a form of mental and neurological reprogramming. When we lie down at night and our minds immediately jump to our worries, we are activating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. Our bodies are being bathed in the chemistry of stress, even as we are trying to rest. This makes deep, restorative sleep difficult, if not impossible. The gratitude ritual does the precise opposite. By consciously dwelling on feelings of appreciation, safety, and contentment, we are activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response. We are sending a powerful, all-clear signal to our entire being. We are marinating our consciousness in feelings of warmth and well-being. It is like changing the channel of the mind from a stressful drama to a peaceful documentary. You are consciously choosing the emotional and mental state from which you will launch into sleep, which has a profound effect on the quality of your rest and even the content of your dreams. Consider the story of a woman we will call Sarah, a successful professional who was plagued by chronic insomnia. For years, she had dreaded the night. Her mind would race with work anxieties and personal worries, and she would lie awake for hours, feeling her frustration and exhaustion mount. She had tried sleeping pills, which left her groggy, and followed every sleep hygiene rule, with little effect. A friend suggested she try keeping a simple gratitude journal before bed. Deeply skeptical, but desperate, she decided to try. For the first week, it felt forced, a silly chore. She would list things mechanically. 1. My salad at lunch. 2. The cat didn't wake me up early. 3. I found a parking spot. But she kept at it. Then she remembered the advice to not just list, but to feel. So, the next night, instead of just writing my cup of tea, she closed her eyes and remembered the feeling of the warm mug in her hands, the fragrant steam, the soothing taste. She noticed a genuine feeling of warmth spread through her chest. It was small, but it was real. Over the next few weeks, a subtle shift occurred. The practice became less of a chore and more of a refuge, a kind and gentle way to close her day. She started looking forward to this quiet time with herself. She noticed that the volume of her pre-sleep anxiety had been turned down. It was still there, sometimes, but it was no longer the only station on the radio. And slowly, her sleep began to change. She fell asleep more easily. She woke up less often. She began to feel more rested in the mornings. Sarah realized the goal had never been just to fix her sleep. The practice was healing her entire relationship with her mind, replacing the habit of worry with the habit of appreciation, one grateful thought at a time. This practice is an act of profound self-compassion. It is how you gently tuck your own mind into bed each night. It is a way of saying to yourself, the day is done. You did your best. Now, rest in this warmth, rest in this peace. It works beautifully on the good days and on the average days. But what about the hard days? What about the days filled with conflict, disappointment, pain, or loss? Is it possible to find things to be grateful for then? Can this practice hold us even in the darkest of times? To answer that, we must be willing to go even deeper into the heart of this practice, to explore the challenging but ultimately liberating art of being grateful for the thorns. We have learned to end our day with a quiet accounting of our graces, a gentle ritual of gratitude for the simple gifts of our lives. This practice is a balm for the heart, a way of tucking our minds into bed with kindness. It is easy and joyful to feel thankful when the sun is shining, when our health is good, and when the people around us are kind. But life, in its vast and unpredictable nature, is not always sunny. There are days of rain, there are seasons of cold, there are moments of profound difficulty. This brings us to a deeper, more challenging, and ultimately more transformative level of practice. It asks a courageous question: is it possible to find gratitude not just for the roses, but also for the thorns? This is perhaps one of the most counterintuitive and radical invitations on the spiritual path. To be grateful for adversity, for failure, for criticism, for the very people who cause us pain, it seems, at first, to be nonsensical, even impossible. It is not a practice of pretending that pain does not hurt. It does. It is not about developing a masochistic love of suffering. It is about a profound alchemy of the heart. It is about learning to see our difficulties not as obstacles to our path, but as the path itself. It is the art of extracting the medicine of wisdom from the poison of our suffering. Consider the old saying, "A smooth sea never made a skillful sailor." A life devoid of challenge would be a life devoid of growth. It is in the grappling with difficulty that we build our spiritual muscle. It is in the face of hardship that we discover our own resilience, a strength we never knew we possessed. Pain is often life's most direct and honest messenger. It points, with unerring accuracy, to the places within us that are unhealed, to the attachments we need to release, to the illusions we are still clinging to. A prolonged period of difficulty can have a tenderizing effect on the heart, breaking down the walls of pride and self-sufficiency, and opening us up to a deeper empathy for the suffering of all beings. We can look back at the most challenging times in our lives and, with the clarity of hindsight, feel a sense of gratitude for the profound strength and wisdom that was forged in those fires. Let us bring this down to a practical level. Think of failure. Our culture teaches us to fear and avoid failure at all costs. But from this wiser perspective, failure is simply data. It is essential feedback. A failed business venture, while painful, might teach us invaluable lessons about ourselves and the world. A relationship that ends might, in its painful conclusion, reveal what we truly need and value, setting us on a more authentic path. A job that we lose might be the very event that liberates us from a career that was slowly draining our soul, forcing us to discover a truer calling. It is often only in looking back that we can see how a closed door was actually a moment of grace, and we can feel a genuine sense of gratitude for the failure that redirected our entire lives. Similarly, we can learn to find the lesson within criticism. When someone criticizes us, our ego's immediate reaction is to become defensive, to deny, to counterattack. But a mindful response is to pause, to breathe, and to ask, with genuine curiosity, is there a grain of truth here? Often, even in an unfairly delivered critique, there may be a tiny nugget of gold, an insight into how others perceive us, a glimpse into one of our own blind spots. To be able to extract that useful information without getting entangled in the emotional charge of the delivery is a superpower. We can be grateful for the difficult feedback that helps us to grow, even as we protect ourselves from abusive or unkind language. The greatest challenge of all, however, is to find a sense of gratitude for the difficult people in our lives. The person who irritates you, the one who betrays you, the one who seems to live only to push your buttons. These people, from a spiritual perspective, are our most powerful teachers. They are our sandpaper gurus, polishing our rough edges. The person who constantly annoys you is giving you a continuous, free of charge opportunity to practice patience. The person who is demanding and unreasonable is your training ground for setting clear, compassionate boundaries. The person who acts with cruelty is a profound, if painful, reminder to cultivate compassion, for you can be certain that their harmful actions spring from their own deep well of suffering. These difficult people are like mirrors. They show us, with perfect clarity, our own triggers, our own unhealed wounds, our own attachments. The things that drive us mad in others are often pointing to something unresolved within ourselves. Now, a crucial clarification must be made, and this is of the utmost importance. This practice is not, under any circumstances, about condoning harmful behavior. It is not about being grateful for abuse, for injustice, or for cruelty. It is not an instruction to remain in a dangerous or toxic situation. Protecting yourself, leaving a harmful relationship, or seeking justice are all necessary and wise actions. The practice of gratitude for the thorns is a purely internal art of transmutation, undertaken for the sake of your own freedom. It is the refusal to allow another person's actions to imprison you in a cage of bitterness, resentment, and hatred for the rest of your life. Resentment is the poison you drink, hoping the other person will die. This practice is about deciding, for your own peace of mind, to put down the poison and instead to find the medicine within the experience. It is about taking back your power. The perfect symbol for this entire practice is the lotus flower. The lotus is a revered symbol of purity, beauty, and enlightenment. Yet, the lotus does not grow in a pristine, manicured garden. The lotus does not grow on a clean mountaintop. The lotus flower rises up from the thick, dark, smelly mud at the bottom of a pond. The mud is not an unfortunate obstacle that the lotus must overcome. The mud is the very source of its life. The lotus sends its roots down deep into the muck, draws up the rich nutrients, and transforms that muck into a blossom of breathtaking beauty and perfection. A flower that rests on the surface of the water, unstained by the dirt from which it came. Our lives are the pond. The difficulties, the heartbreaks, the failures, the betrayals, this is our mud. There is no life without mud. The practice of being grateful for the thorns is the practice of learning to be a lotus flower. It is the art of sending our roots of awareness down into our most difficult experiences and asking, what is the nourishment here? What is the lesson? What is the strength I can draw from this? It is the alchemical process of transforming the very experiences that we thought would destroy us into the source of our greatest beauty, our deepest wisdom, and our most resilient compassion. When our gratitude becomes this vast, this courageous, this all-encompassing, something truly magical happens. The heart, which may have been tight and defensive, begins to soften and open wide. The rigid lines we draw between good and bad, wanted and unwanted, begin to dissolve. We see that all of life, the light and the dark, the pleasure and the pain, has a role to play in our awakening. This expansive gratitude, a gratitude that can hold even the sharpest thorns with understanding, naturally blossoms into a new kind of energy. It becomes an active, radiant warmth, a love that is not conditional upon whether we like something or not. It is a boundless, unconditional goodwill that we can learn to consciously extend, first to ourselves and then to all beings. This is the sacred practice of loving kindness. When our gratitude becomes so vast and courageous that it can embrace even the thorns of our existence, the heart undergoes a profound transformation. The tight, defensive knot of the ego begins to loosen. The hardened shell of resentment and bitterness, baked by past hurts, begins to soften. In its place, a gentle, pervasive warmth begins to arise. A heart that has been warmed by gratitude does not hoard that warmth for itself. Its very nature is to radiate. This radiation, this active expression of a grateful and compassionate heart, is the essence of the sacred practice of metta, or loving kindness. Metta is a Pali word that is often translated as loving kindness, but it also carries the meaning of friendliness, goodwill, and benevolence. It is a love that is unconditional, untethered to whether we like someone or whether they please us. It is not the possessive, romantic love we see in films, nor is it the transactional affection we might feel for those who are useful to us. Metta is like the light and warmth of the sun. The sun does not decide to shine only on the beautiful flowers and not on the weeds. It does not offer its warmth only to the righteous and withhold it from the wicked. It shines its light freely, boundlessly, and without discrimination upon all. The practice of metta bhavana, which means the cultivation of loving kindness, is the practice of developing a sun-like heart. It is a skill we can learn, a quality we can consciously develop, no matter how cold or closed our hearts may feel right now. The practice begins, as all true healing does, with ourselves. It may seem selfish to start with oneself, but it is a psychological necessity. You cannot pour water for another from an empty cup. You cannot offer a warmth you do not possess. For many of us, especially in a culture that prizes harsh self-criticism, offering kindness to ourselves is the most difficult step of all. So, let us begin this gentle practice together. Find a comfortable posture, the same dignified and relaxed posture we have used before. Close your eyes and bring your awareness to the area around your own heart. Now, we will silently, gently, offer a few traditional phrases of loving kindness to our own being. Repeat them in your mind, slowly, letting the intention behind the words settle into your body. May I be safe. May I be free from inner and outer harm. May I be healthy. May my body and mind be well. May I be happy. May I know the joy of a peaceful heart. May I live with ease. May I move through this world with grace and without struggle. As you repeat these phrases, try not to make it a mechanical recitation. Let yourself truly feel the sincere wish behind them. What would it feel like to be truly safe, to be truly happy? Offer this wish to yourself as you would to a beloved child. If you notice feelings of resistance or unworthiness, that is okay. Simply acknowledge them with kindness, as clouds passing through the sky of your awareness, and gently return to offering the phrases. This is the foundation. Now, from this foundation of self-compassion, we can begin to radiate this warmth outward. Bring to mind a good friend, a benefactor, or someone in your life for whom you feel easy and uncomplicated love and appreciation. It could be a close friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a beloved pet. Picture them in your mind's eye, see their face, feel their presence. Now, direct the same phrases of loving kindness toward them. May you be safe. May you be free from inner and outer harm. May you be healthy. May your body and mind be well. May you be happy. May you know the joy of a peaceful heart. May you live with ease. May you move through this world with grace and without struggle. Feel the natural flow of warmth from your heart to theirs. There is no need to force it. Simply rest in this feeling of sincere goodwill, this simple wish for another to be happy. The next stage is to widen the circle of our heart. Bring to mind a neutral person. This is someone you see in your daily life, but for whom you have no strong feelings, either positive or negative. It might be the cashier at your local grocery store, the mail carrier, or someone you see on your daily commute. We often move through our days seeing such people as mere functions, not as feeling human beings. This practice helps to dissolve that barrier. Bring the image of this person to mind, and just as you did for your loved one, extend the full measure of your goodwill to them. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. In this simple act, you are transforming a stranger into a fellow human being, recognizing their wish to be happy is just the same as your own. Now we come to the most challenging and perhaps the most transformative stage of the practice. The invitation is to bring to mind a difficult person, someone with whom you have friction, conflict, or resentment. It is wise to start with someone who is only mildly difficult, not the source of your deepest trauma. Acknowledge that this is not easy. When you bring this person to mind, you may feel a clenching, a resistance, a surge of anger or hurt. This is natural. The goal here is not to whitewash their harmful actions or to force a feeling of forgiveness that isn't genuine. The goal is a profound act of self-liberation. You are doing this for your own sake, to free yourself from the prison of resentment. Recognizing that their harmful actions likely spring from their own suffering, you can, as an experiment in freedom, try to extend the wish for them to be free from that very suffering. With whatever sincerity you can muster, you offer the phrases, "May you be safe. May you find your own peace. May you be happy. May you be free from the poisons that cause you to suffer and to create suffering for others." This is a revolutionary act. It is the heart's refusal to be defined by hatred. Finally, having stretched the muscle of the heart, we let the circle become boundless. We allow the feeling of metta to radiate out from our heart center in all directions. First, to everyone in the room with you. Then to everyone in your building, on your street, in your city. Extend it to all people in your country and to all people on this earth, without exception. But do not stop there. Extend it to all animals, the birds in the air, the creatures in the sea, the insects on the ground. Extend it to all beings, seen and unseen, near and far, large and small. Hold the entire planet in your heart and bathe it in this unconditional, loving wish. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live with ease. This practice is the direct antidote to the poison of aversion. It systematically melts the ice of anger, ill will, judgment, and fear. It softens the rigid, defensive posture of the ego, which is always obsessed with me versus them. In its place, it cultivates a sense of friendliness and kinship with all of life. There is a famous story from the life of the Buddha that illustrates the incredible power of metta. The Buddha's jealous cousin, Devadatta, conspired to assassinate him. He arranged for a ferocious, wild elephant named Nalagiri to be intoxicated and then unleashed on the narrow lane where the Buddha was walking. The elephant, enraged and drunk, charged down the lane, trumpeting wildly, destroying everything in its path. The Buddha's disciples, seeing this terrifying spectacle, panicked and urged him to run, but the Buddha remained calm, grounded, and fearless. He did not prepare a weapon or a shield. He did not look for an escape. Instead, he turned his full attention toward the raging animal and radiated a powerful, silent wave of pure, unconditional loving kindness. As the charging elephant entered the field of the Buddha's metta, a strange thing happened. It slowed its charge. Its eyes, which had been red with rage, became softer. The drunken fury seemed to drain out of its massive body. It became calm, walked peacefully up to the Buddha, and knelt before him, allowing the Buddha to gently stroke its forehead. The raging elephant, the symbol of our own untamed anger, our fear, and our hatred, cannot be defeated by violence or suppression. It can only be tamed by the gentle, unshakable, and courageous power of loving kindness. When we practice metta, when we make it a regular part of our lives, a profound insight begins to dawn in our hearts. As we send this goodwill to ourselves, to our loved ones, to neutral people, to difficult people, and finally to all beings, the artificial categories we have created in our minds begin to feel less solid. We start to see, in a way that goes beyond mere intellect, that my happiness is not truly separate from your happiness. My suffering is not separate from your suffering. We begin to feel the intricate and invisible threads that connect us all. This deep, intuitive understanding of our fundamental non-separation has a name. It is the wisdom of interconnectedness. The practice of loving kindness, of metta, begins to warm the heart and melt the frozen borders we have drawn between ourselves and others. As we consciously extend goodwill to all beings without exception, a deep, intuitive feeling begins to arise here, a feeling that the separation between me and you is not as solid as it seems. Our happiness feels increasingly linked to the happiness of others. Our suffering feels connected to their suffering. This feeling is a glimpse into a profound truth, a truth that forms the very bedrock of Buddhist wisdom. It is the truth of our radical interconnectedness. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh coined a beautiful term for this reality, interbeing. To understand interbeing, let us engage in a simple but profound contemplation. Imagine in your hands, right now, a simple sheet of paper. On the surface, it appears to be a separate, independent object. But let us look more deeply. If we look with the eyes of wisdom, we can see a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there can be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, we cannot make paper. So the cloud is essential for the paper's existence. The cloud is in the paper. If we continue to look, we can see the sunshine. The sun's light is the source of energy for all life on earth. Without the sunshine, the forest cannot grow. So, the sunshine is also in this sheet of paper. And what else do we see? We see the logger who cut down the tree. We can see his hands, his sweat. We can see the wheat that became the bread he ate for breakfast. And in that wheat, we see the rich soil, the minerals, the farmer who planted the seed, in the logger's parents who gave him life. So the logger, and the farmer, and the soil, and the sun, and the rain are all present, right here, in this sheet of paper. And what about the person who drove the truck to transport the log, and the people who worked in the paper mill, and the person who sold you the paper, and the miners who dug the iron ore to make the steel for the saws and the trucks, and the ancestors of all these people? If we look deeply enough, we see that this single sheet of paper contains the entire cosmos. If we were to take any one of these elements out, if we were to return the sunshine to the sun, the water to the cloud, the logger to his parents, the wheat to the farmer's field, the sheet of paper could not exist. It is composed entirely of what we might call non-paper elements. It has no separate, independent self. Its entire existence is contingent upon the existence of everything else. To be, it must interbe with all that is. This is the wisdom of interbeing. Now, let us turn this powerful lens of contemplation upon ourselves. We have a deeply ingrained habit of thinking of ourselves as separate, independent entities. A self, a me, contained within the borders of our skin. But the same truth that applies to the sheet of paper applies to us. Look at your own hand. In this hand, you can see your mother and your father. Their DNA is woven into your very cells. Their actions, their choices, their love, and their struggles are all present in who you are today. And in them, you can see your grandparents and great-grandparents, a chain of ancestry stretching back through time. All of them are present in your hand. Look again, and you can see the food you ate this morning. In that food, perhaps there is a piece of toast. In that toast is the wheat, and in the wheat is the sun, the soil, and the rain. In the milk in your coffee, there is the cow, and the grass the cow ate. So the farmer, the baker, the sun, and the earth are all present, right now, nourishing the cells of your hand. You are breathing. With every inhalation, you are taking the outside world into your body. The oxygen you breathe was exhaled as carbon dioxide by a tree, perhaps on the other side of the world. With every exhalation, you are offering yourself back to the world, nourishing that tree. You are in a constant, intimate, and life-sustaining exchange with the entire planet's atmosphere. The ideas in your head came from the books you have read, the teachers who have taught you, the conversations you have had with friends. Your very personality has been shaped by the culture you grew up in and the people you have loved. Just like the sheet of paper, if we were to remove all these non-you elements, your parents, your food, the air, your teachers, your friends, what would be left of the you that you think of as so solid and separate? The answer is nothing at all. The self is empty of a separate existence. To be, you must be. To truly feel this in your heart is to find the antidote to one of the most painful afflictions of the human condition, the feeling of profound loneliness. Loneliness arises from the delusion of separateness. It is the pain of feeling like a fragmented, isolated piece of a puzzle, disconnected from the whole picture. The wisdom of interbeing reveals this feeling to be based on a perceptual error. You can never be truly separate from the whole, any more than a wave can be separate from the ocean. You are a manifestation of the entire cosmos, looking out at itself through your eyes. To know this is to understand that you can find companionship in a tree, in a cloud, in the stars. It is to know that you are deeply and irrevocably at home in the universe. There is an ancient and beautiful metaphor from Buddhist cosmology that illustrates this truth. It is called Indra's net. Imagine a vast, infinite net that stretches out in all directions, through all of space and time. At every single point where the threads of the net cross, there hangs a single, multifaceted, perfectly polished jewel. The net is arranged so that if you look closely at the surface of any one jewel, you will see in it the shimmering reflections of every other jewel in the entire infinite net. And in each of those reflections, you will see the reflections of all the other jewels again, and so on, ad infinitum. Each jewel is a unique point, yet its very essence is nothing but the sum total of all the other jewels. It has no identity apart from its reflections. We are each a jewel in this cosmic net. Our existence is defined and made possible by every other being, and the existence of every other being is, in some small way, defined by us. When this understanding moves from the head to the heart, it gives rise to a profound sense of ethics and responsibility. If we are all fundamentally interconnected, then every action, every word, and even every thought we have does not simply vanish. It sends a ripple, a vibration, through the entire net. An act of kindness, a word of encouragement, a thought of compassion. These things do not just affect the person they are directed at. They subtly change the quality of the whole, uplifting the entire web of life. Conversely, an act of cruelty, a harsh word, a thought of greed, these too send out their own dark ripples, contributing to the collective suffering of the world. This is the basis of a truly wise morality. We act with compassion not because we are following a rule or because we fear punishment, but because we understand that to harm another is, in a very real sense, to harm ourselves. To help another is to help ourselves. To love another is to love the part of the universe that is manifesting as them. The well-being of the whole is inseparable from the well-being of the part. We have journeyed from a simple sheet of paper to the cosmic expanse of Indra's net. We have seen that the feeling of being a separate self is a powerful illusion. We are not discrete entities, but focal points through which the entire universe is constantly flowing. We are made of sunshine, starlight, ancient soil, and the love and labor of countless generations. This realization dissolves loneliness and fosters a deep sense of care for the whole. But it also leads us to a final, radical, and most personal question. If we are truly interconnected with everything, if we are made up only of non-self elements, then what is this I that feels so solid and central? What is this self that feels pride, that feels fear, that strives and worries and sleeps and dreams? We are now standing at the doorway of one of the most profound and liberating teachings of the path, the wisdom that looks directly at the nature of the self and finds an astonishing truth. This is the wisdom of anatta, or no self. Having journeyed to the profound realization of interbeing, seeing ourselves not as separate islands but as intricate expressions of the entire cosmos, we arrive at the most personal and radical inquiry of all. If we are made of sunshine and starlight, of our ancestors and our food, if we are in constant, intimate exchange with the whole world, then what is this entity we call I? What is this self that feels so solid, so central, so undeniably me? It is this self that feels pride, this self that feels fear, this self that strives for success and dreads failure. We are now standing at the threshold of what is often considered the Buddha's most unique and liberating teaching, the wisdom of anatta, or no self. Let us be clear from the outset. This teaching is not a statement of annihilation. It does not mean that you do not exist, that you are nothing. It is not a dark, nihilistic philosophy. Quite the opposite. It is a path to the most profound freedom imaginable. It is the letting go of a case of mistaken identity, the release of a burden you never realized you were carrying. It is an invitation to investigate, with gentle curiosity, the nature of this self we take for granted. So, let us begin this investigation together. Where is this I to be found? The Buddhist analysis invites us to look at our experience as being composed of 5 distinct categories, or aggregates. These are known as the 5 skandhas. Let us look through them, one by one, to see if we can locate a permanent, independent I within any of them. First, there is the aggregate of form. This is your physical body, your flesh, bones, blood, and breath. Is your body the I? At first, it seems plausible, but as we know from our contemplation on impermanence, the body is in a constant state of flux. It ages, it gets sick, it heals, its very cells are constantly dying and being replaced. It is an unreliable, ever-changing process. Furthermore, if it were truly you would have complete command over it. You could command it not to age, not to fall ill, not to feel pain, but you cannot. The body follows its own natural laws. So, the body is something we have, but it cannot be the permanent, unchanging I we are searching for. Second, there is the aggregate of feeling. These are your sensations, which can be categorized as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Is the I to be found in your feelings? This is even less plausible. Feelings are like the weather. They are utterly transient. One moment you feel joy, the next boredom, the next irritation. If you were your feelings, yourself would be dying and being reborn with every passing mood. Feelings are events that happen to us, but they cannot be the core of who we are. Third, there is the aggregate of perception. This is the faculty that identifies and labels sensory input. The eye sees a shape, and perception says, "That is a tree." The ear hears a sound, and perception says, "That is a siren." But are you your perceptions? Perceptions are conditioned and can be deeply unreliable. They are influenced by our past experiences, our moods, and our cultural biases. Two people can witness the exact same event and have wildly different perceptions of what happened. Perception is a fallible mental process. It cannot be the stable, essential I. Fourth, we come to the aggregate of mental formations. This is a broad category that includes all of our volitional activities. The thoughts, opinions, beliefs, intentions, habits, desires, and prejudices. This is where most of us locate our sense of self. I am my thoughts, my beliefs. But are these permanent? Think of an opinion you held with passionate conviction 10 years ago. Do you still hold it today? Think of the habits you have tried to change. These mental formations are just patterns, karmic imprints that arise and pass away. They are conditioned phenomena, not a solid, independent self. Finally, there is the fifth aggregate, consciousness. This is the raw awareness that knows the other aggregates. The consciousness that sees, that hears, that feels, that thinks. Perhaps this is the I, but when we look closely, we see that consciousness is also not a monolithic entity. It is dependent on conditions. Seeing consciousness arises only when an I, a visible object, and light come together. Hearing consciousness arises only when an ear and a sound are present. It is not a continuous, singular awareness that exists on its own. It arises and passes away with every moment of experience, like a spark from a fire. It too is a process, not a permanent thing. So we have looked. We have investigated our body, our feelings, our perceptions, our thoughts, and our awareness, and we cannot find a solid, unchanging, independent I anywhere. What we call the self is not a noun, but a verb. It is a process, a dynamic and interactive flow of these 5 aggregates. The Buddha used the analogy of a flame. A flame is not a static thing. It is a process of combustion, dependent on fuel, heat, and oxygen. The flame at this moment is not the same as the flame a moment ago. So it is with the self. It is a continuous, moment-to-moment arising and passing of these 5 processes. A famous story that illustrates this perfectly is the dialogue between the Buddhist sage Nagasena and the Greco-Bactrian king, Melinda. The king asked Nagasena, "Who are you? What is your name?" Nagasena replied that his brothers in the holy life called him Nagasena, but this was only a convenient designation, a name for a collection of phenomena. The king, a sharp Greek intellectual, was baffled. If there is no person, then who is it that wears these robes? Who eats? Who sleeps? Who meditates? Nagasena responded by asking the king about his chariot. "Your Majesty, did you walk here, or did you arrive in a chariot?" The king replied that he had arrived in a chariot. "Then, Your Majesty," Nagasena said, "please define for me what a chariot is. Is it the pole? Is it the axle? Is it the wheels? Is it the frame, the ropes, the yoke?" To each question the king answered, "No, venerable sir." Then Nagasena concluded, "Is the chariot something other than these parts?" "No, venerable sir." Nagasena then declared, "Your Majesty, just as the word chariot is a convenient designation for an assembly of parts, so Nagasena is a convenient designation for this collection of body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. In the ultimate sense, no person, no self, can be found here. To grasp this is to understand the deepest root of our suffering. Our suffering comes from clinging to and defending this fictional self. We spend our lives building a fortress around this illusory I. We defend its opinions in arguments. We defend its reputation, living in fear of shame and ridicule. We try to aggrandize it with possessions and status, leading to greed and envy. And most of all, we fear its ultimate demise, which gives rise to the profound terror of death. This constant defense is exhausting. It is the source of so much of our anxiety and conflict. The wisdom of anatta, therefore, is the great liberation. When we see, truly see, that there is no solid fortress to defend, the need for all this exhausting labor falls away. It is an incredible relief. We can hold our opinions more lightly. We can engage in dialogue without our identity being on the line. We can receive criticism without feeling personally annihilated. We can experience pleasure without desperately clinging to it, and pain without feeling that our very being is under attack. The fear of death itself begins to transform. If there was no solid, permanent me to begin with, what is it that truly dies? There is only the dissolution of a temporary pattern, the cessation of a process, like a wave subsiding back into the vastness of the ocean from which it came. This is not a loss of self, but a letting go of a false self. It is the discovery of a more spacious, fluid, and fearless way of being. It allows a natural humility and compassion to arise. When we look at others, we no longer see them as separate, competing egos, but as fellow processes of arising and passing phenomena, fellow collections of the 5 aggregates, all wanting to be happy and free from suffering, just like ourselves. To see that the self is a process, a convenient designation for a confluence of changing streams, is to put down the heaviest burden you have ever carried. When there is no fixed I to aggrandize or protect, our desperate need to possess, to control, and to cling begins to soften. If there is no permanent owner, who is there to own anything? This realization is the gateway to the next stage of our journey, the freedom of non-attachment. Having seen through the illusion of the solid, separate self, we arrive at a place of profound possibility. If there is no permanent I to aggrandize, no fragile ego fortress to constantly defend, then the entire lifelong project of grasping, clinging, and possessing begins to lose its purpose. The clenched fist of the mind, forever trying to hold on to pleasure and push away pain, can finally begin to relax and open. This opening, this release, is the essence of the practice of nekkhamma, a Pali word often translated as renunciation, but which is more helpfully understood as the freedom of non-attachment. It is vital that we begin by clearing away a common and unhelpful misunderstanding of this beautiful concept. To the Western ear, non-attachment can sound cold, aloof, and uncaring. It conjures images of an unfeeling robot, disconnected from the joys and sorrows of the world. This is the absolute opposite of its true meaning. Non-attachment is not indifference. It is not a sterile detachment. It is the highest and warmest form of love, a love that is free from the poison of clinging. Imagine you are holding a small, beautiful bird in your hand. If you clench your fist around it, if you try to possess it and force it to stay, you will crush it. If, however, you hold your hand open, offering it a place of warmth and safety, the bird may choose to rest there for a time. You can fully appreciate its beauty, its warmth, its delicate life. And when it is time for it to fly away, you can let it go with a feeling of gratitude for the moment you shared, rather than a feeling of bitterness at its departure. Non-attachment is learning to live with an open hand, to engage with life fully, to love deeply, and to appreciate completely, all while relinquishing the frantic, painful demand that things be permanent and conform to our desires. This allows us to see the true source of our suffering in relationships and with the world. We do not suffer because we love. We suffer because we cling. We do not feel pain because we love our partner. We feel pain when we attach our entire happiness to them, demanding that they never change, that they always act as we wish, that they fulfill our every need. We do not suffer because we enjoy a moment of success. We suffer when we cling to that success, making our self-worth entirely dependent on it and living in constant fear of failure. We do not suffer from the experience of a beautiful sunny day. We suffer when we resent the inevitable arrival of a cloudy one. In every case, the suffering comes not from the experience itself, but from our clenched fist attempt to control it, to freeze the ever-flowing river of life. Non-attachment is the gentle, courageous act of unclenching that fist, finger by finger, and allowing life to flow. How do we apply this in our lives? Let us start with our relationship to outcomes. Our culture trains us to be relentlessly results-oriented. Our happiness is tied to achieving the goal, winning the prize, getting the promotion. The process is often seen as a necessary evil to be endured on the way to the victory. This creates a state of constant anxiety, a life lived in a future that may never arrive. The practice of non-attachment invites us to a different way of being. It aligns with the ancient wisdom found in texts like the Bhagavad Gita. We have a right to our labor, but we have no right to the fruits of our labor. The practice is to pour our full heart, our complete presence, our highest skill into the task at hand. We write the report, we build the product, we have the conversation, we create the art with as much care and integrity as we can muster, and then we let it go. We release our white-knuckled grip on the outcome. Whether it is met with praise or criticism, success or failure, our inner sense of well-being remains intact, because we found our fulfillment in the dignity of the process itself, not in the fickle applause of the world. This is the end of performance anxiety. This is peace in action. We can also apply this to our inner world by practicing non-attachment to our views. In an age of intense polarization, our opinions and beliefs have become extensions of our ego's fortress. We cling to our identities, political, social, religious, and we go to war to defend them. To practice non-attachment to views does not mean becoming apathetic or having no values. It means holding our truths with a degree of humility. It means we can advocate passionately for what we believe is right, while simultaneously leaving space for the possibility that we might be wrong. It means we can listen to someone who disagrees with us, not with the intention of reloading for our next rebuttal, but with a genuine curiosity to understand their world. It is the understanding that our identity is not the same as our opinion. Releasing our desperate need to be right frees up an enormous amount of energy and opens the door to genuine communication and connection. There is a simple story that captures the essence of this practice. A Zen master and his young student were walking together at dusk. The sky erupted into a breathtaking sunset, a symphony of fiery orange and soft violet. The student was immediately agitated. He fumbled in his robes for his phone, anxious to capture a photo before the light faded. He worried the photo wouldn't do it justice. He wished he had a better camera. He was filled with a sense of frantic loss that this perfect moment was slipping through his fingers. His mind was a whirlwind of clinging and craving. The master, meanwhile, simply stood beside him, his hands tucked into his sleeves. He was completely still, his gaze soft, his presence fully absorbed in the spectacle before him. He was not trying to possess the sunset, to capture it, to make it last. He was simply allowing its beauty to wash over him, to be fully present with the fleeting, magnificent gift of the moment. In his attempt to own the sunset, the student missed it entirely. The master, by letting it go, experienced it completely. When we learn to live in this way, with an open hand, our happiness ceases to be a fragile thing, dependent on the volatile weather of the external world. When our peace is no longer contingent on getting that promotion, on people behaving as we wish, on the sun always shining, on our bodies never aging, we discover a new center of gravity. We find an unshakable stability within ourselves. We are no longer a dry leaf tossed about by every gust of wind, but a deeply rooted mountain, able to witness the passing of storms and seasons with a calm, abiding equanimity. This is the profound peace of an unburdened heart, a heart that has learned the secret of loving the world without needing to own it. So, the wisdom of non-attachment frees us from the exhausting roller coaster of hope and fear. It is not a cold withdrawal from life, but the highest form of engagementa, full-hearted participation in the dance, without anxiously trying to control the music. This principle is beautiful, profound, and deeply liberating in theory. But how do we bring this radical wisdom into the most demanding and results-driven arena of modern life? How can we possibly practice finding joy in the process and letting go of the outcome in the context of our 9-to-5 jobs, our careers, and our ambitions? How do we find this freedom in the workplace? This is the crucial question that leads us to our next exploration, the art of mindful work. Having learned to open the clenched fist of the ego, to release our painful attachment to outcomes and views, we face the great challenge of bringing this freedom into the very heart of modern life, our work. For many of us, the workplace is the primary source of our stress, our anxiety, and our feeling of being disconnected. It is a place of relentless pressure, of tight deadlines, of interpersonal friction, and of a gnawing feeling that our labor lacks a deeper meaning. It can feel like the last place on earth where one could cultivate peace. But the wisdom of this path suggests we reframe this perspective entirely. The workplace is not an obstacle to our spiritual practice. It is our most potent and immediate training ground. It is our modern monastery, the laboratory where our commitment to mindfulness, compassion, and non-attachment is tested and strengthened every single day. The invitation is not necessarily to quit your job and move to a mountaintop, but to bring the mountaintop mind to your desk, your shop floor, your vehicle, or your classroom. It is about consciously integrating the principles of the path into your daily work, transforming it from a source of dread into a field of practice. Let us begin with the foundation of right mindfulness. In a work culture that celebrates frantic multitasking, the mindful approach is a radical act of sanity. It is the practice of single tasking. When you sit down to write an email, just write the email. Resist the siren call of the 5 other open tabs, the pinging notifications, the half-listened to podcast. Bring your full, calm, and undivided attention to the words you are typing. Feel the sensation of your fingers on the keyboard. Read the sentences with clarity before you press send. This simple act of unified attention not only reduces the mental fragmentation that causes so much stress, but it results in a clearer, more effective email. When you are in a meeting, truly be in the meeting. Instead of mentally rehearsing what you are going to say next, or secretly checking your phone under the table, practice deep listening. Listen to your colleagues with an open and curious mind, not just to find flaws in their arguments, but to truly understand their perspective. When you do speak, speak with intention, knowing why you are speaking. This transforms meetings from a draining obligation into an opportunity for genuine collaboration and connection. Whatever your task, whether it is analyzing a complex spreadsheet, cleaning a surface, or speaking with a customer, the practice is the same. To bring your whole self to the present moment, to anchor your awareness in the reality of the task at hand. In doing so, even the most mundane chores can become a form of meditation, a moment of grounded, peaceful presence. Next, we can consciously practice right speech within our professional lives. Our words have immense power in the workplace. They can build teams up or tear them down. We can use the 4 traditional guidelines for right speech as a constant checklist for our professional communication. First, is it true? This is a commitment to integrity, to avoiding the small exaggerations, the convenient omissions, and the toxic office gossip that erodes trust. Second, is it kind? This does not mean being weak or avoiding difficult conversations. It means delivering feedback in a way that is constructive, not cruel. It means choosing words that build dignity, rather than words that demean or humiliate. Third, is it helpful? Before speaking, we can ask ourselves, is what I am about to say useful? Does it serve a purpose? Does it move the team forward? Or am I just complaining, venting, or adding to the noise? Fourth, is it harmonious? This is the intention to use our words to build bridges, not walls, to de-escalate conflict rather than fanning its flames. A workplace where even a few individuals are committed to this form of communication becomes a profoundly safer and more creative environment for everyone. This naturally extends to our conduct, to right action and right livelihood. Right action at work is simply integrity in motion. It is not cutting corners on a project, not taking credit for someone else's work, not engaging in deceitful practices. And right livelihood invites us to a gentle, long-term inquiry about our careers. It asks us to consider, on balance, whether the work we do in the world contributes to healing and well-being, or to harm and suffering. This is not meant to be a source of guilt, but a guiding star, a compass that can help us navigate our career choices over a lifetime, moving us toward work that aligns more and more deeply with our most cherished values. The most profound shift of all, however, comes from a change in our fundamental perspective, our motivation for working in the first place. The default mode of the ego is to ask, what can I get? This is the mindset of accumulation. A bigger salary, a better title, more power, more recognition. The mindful approach, informed by the wisdom of interbeing, turns this question on its head. It asks, what can I give? How can I serve? This reframes our work not as a project of self-aggrandizement, but as an act of service. It is a way to offer our unique skills and energy to the great interconnected web of life. This perspective is available in any job, no matter how humble. A janitor is not merely mopping a floor, he is creating a clean, safe, and dignified environment for others to work and heal. A coder is not just writing lines of code, she is building a tool that may solve a problem and make someone's life easier. A barista is not just serving coffee, he is offering a moment of warmth, comfort, and human connection in the middle of a busy day. To see our work in this light, as our own unique way of contributing to the world, infuses it with a meaning and purpose that no paycheck can ever provide. There is a timeless story of a traveler who came upon a construction site where 3 stonecutters were hard at work under the hot sun. He approached the first stonecutter, a man whose face was etched with bitterness and fatigue. "My good man," the traveler asked, "what are you doing?" The worker glared back and grumbled, "What does it look like I'm doing? I am hacking away at this wretchedly heavy stone. My back aches, the sun is merciless, and the pay is pitiful. It is a miserable existence." The traveler moved on to the second stonecutter. This man was working with a steady, diligent rhythm, his brow furrowed in concentration. "And what is it that you are doing?" the traveler asked. The man paused, wiped his brow, and said with a sense of competence, "I am a stonecutter by trade. I am shaping this block of granite so that it will fit perfectly. I am building a strong and sturdy wall." The traveler then approached the third stonecutter. This man was also working hard, but there was a light in his eyes, a peacefulness to his movements. He seemed to be humming a quiet tune. "And you, sir?" the traveler asked. "What are you doing?" The man stopped, set down his tools, and looked up, not at the traveler, but toward the sky, at something far in the distance that only he could see. A gentle smile touched his lips. "I," he said with a quiet reverence, "am building a great cathedral for our community, a place of sanctuary and peace that will stand for 1,000 years." All 3 men were performing the exact same physical labor. They were all cutting stone. The only difference was their inner perspective, their why. The first saw only his own misery and the chore. The second saw only his craft and the immediate task. but the third had connected his small, repetitive, and difficult labor to a vast and noble purpose. He had found the cathedral in the stone, and in doing so, he had transformed his work from a burden into a sacred offering. This is the power and the possibility of mindful work. By bringing our full attention to each task, by communicating with kindness and integrity, and by reframing our purpose as one of service, we too can find the cathedral in our daily stones. We can transform our workplace from a source of stress and burnout into a rich and fertile ground for the practice of mindfulness, the cultivation of meaning, and the joy of connection. Having explored how we can transform our relationship with our work, with how we produce and contribute, let us now turn to the other side of the equation, how we consume. How can we bring this same mindful, intentional, and wholesome approach to the food we eat, the things we buy, and the information we feed our minds? Having explored how to bring mindfulness and purpose into our work, into the realm of what we produce, we now turn our attention to the other side of this fundamental equation, the realm of what we consume. Our lives are a constant flow, a dance of giving and receiving, of producing and consuming. To bring wisdom to one side without the other is to live a life out of balance. The practice of mindful consumption is a direct and powerful application of the principles of non-attachment and right livelihood. It is the art of nourishing ourselves body, home, and mind with the same care and intention that we bring to our work. In our modern world, the default mode of consumption is deeply unconscious. It is a restless, often automatic, grasping for more. We eat our meals while staring at a screen, barely tasting the food, simply shoveling in fuel. We click buy now on an item we saw in an ad, seeking a momentary hit of dopamine to soothe a nameless unease. And most pervasively, we consume a relentless, 24-hour torrent of information, scrolling through feeds of outrage, envy, and anxiety without any conscious filter. This unconscious consumption is one of the primary ways we feed the hungry ghosts of craving and dissatisfaction. To become mindful consumers is to decide, intentionally, to stop feeding these patterns and to start nourishing our well-being instead. Let us begin with the most basic and intimate act of consumption: eating. For most of us, eating is a hurried and distracted affair. The practice of mindful eating invites us to transform this routine act into a moment of profound presence and gratitude. It begins before the first bite. Take a moment to simply look at the food on your plate. Contemplate its journey to you. See the sunshine, the soil, and the rain that nourished the plants. See the labor of the farmer who cultivated it, the truck driver who transported it, the grocer who stocked it. See the entire web of interbeing that is present in your meal. In this simple contemplation, a natural sense of gratitude arises. Then, as you eat, put away the distractions. Let go of your phone. Turn off the television. Your only task is to be present with your food. Chew slowly. Notice the different flavors, the textures, the aromas. Pay attention to the signals of your own body. Notice the feeling of hunger as it begins to subside, and the feeling of fullness as it arises. By simply paying attention, we learn to eat what our body needs, to truly enjoy our food more, and to end the meal with a sense of gentle satisfaction rather than a feeling of being overstuffed. This is not a diet, it is a meditation, a joyful return to a healthy relationship with our food and our bodies. Next, let us bring this awareness to our material consumption. We live in a culture that screams at us from every direction that our happiness is just one purchase away. Mindful material consumption is the practice of creating a sacred pause between the impulse to buy and the act of buying. In that pause, we can engage in a gentle inquiry. We can ask ourselves, do I truly need this, or do I just want this? What is the feeling I am hoping this purchase will give me? Am I feeling bored, lonely, or inadequate, and hoping this will fill the void? How long will that feeling last? We can also contemplate the true cost of the item, not just its price tag. What were the environmental costs of its production and transportation? What were the conditions of the people who labored to make it? This inquiry is not meant to induce guilt, but to foster consciousness. It is about aligning our purchasing habits with our deepest values of non-harming and compassion. It is the shift from being a passive consumer, driven by advertising and impulse, to a conscious citizen, making choices that contribute to our own well-being and the well-being of the planet. Perhaps the most critical area of consumption for our mental health in the 21st century is our consumption of information. We are swimming in a digital ocean overflowing with what could be called mental junk food. The practice of mindful information consumption is about recognizing that our mind is like a garden. The information we consume are the seeds we are planting in it. If we spend hours every day consuming news designed to provoke outrage, social media feeds designed to induce envy and comparison, and comment sections filled with hatred and division, what kind of garden can we expect to grow? We are planting seeds of anger, anxiety, and separation. The mindful approach is to become a conscious gardener of your own mind. This means being courageously selective. It means choosing to read, watch, and listen to things that are nourishing, insightful, inspiring, or genuinely calming. It may mean unfollowing the social media accounts that consistently make you feel inadequate. It may mean limiting your intake of the daily news cycle to just enough to stay informed, rather than enough to stay perpetually agitated. It means recognizing that you have a choice about what you allow to take root in your consciousness. We literally become what we think about, and what we think about is largely determined by what we consume with our eyes and ears. As we begin to practice mindfulness in all these areas, a surprising truth begins to emerge. The relentless cultural message of more is better is revealed to be a lie. We discover the profound joy of simplicity. We realize that every possession we own also, in a way, owns us. It takes up physical space in our homes and mental space in our minds. It requires our time, energy, and money to acquire, to maintain, to clean, to ensure, and to worry about. The process of consciously consuming less leads not to a feeling of deprivation, but to an incredible sense of lightness and freedom. When we step off the hamster wheel of endless acquisition, a vast reservoir of energy and attention is liberated, energy that we can now devote to things that truly nourish our hearts, our relationships, our creativity, our spiritual practice, and our connection with the natural world. Imagine a man named Mark who feels caught in the classic trap of working a stressful job to buy things he doesn't truly need to impress people he doesn't really know. He feels exhausted and unfulfilled. Hearing about this idea, he decides to try a personal experiment, a 30-day consumption fast. For 1 month, he vows to buy nothing that is not an absolute necessity, like basic food and toiletries. The first week is difficult. The habit of browse online stores when he is bored is strong. The impulse to buy a new gadget or a new shirt is a powerful itch, but he persists. In the second week, something shifts. With the option of shopping removed, he finds himself with more free time and more mental space. Instead of scrolling on his phone after dinner, he takes a walk to a nearby park. He rediscovers the simple, free pleasure of watching the evening light filter through the trees. Instead of spending his Saturday at the mall, he calls up an old friend and has a long, meaningful conversation. He starts visiting the public library, rediscovering his love of reading. At the end of the 30 days, he looks back and realizes he has not been deprived of anything. Instead, his life has become richer. He has more time, more peace, and has reconnected with authentic, non-material sources of joy. He has discovered the inner wealth that comes from knowing you have, and are, enough. This is the fruit of mindful consumption. It is the practical, daily application of non-attachment. It is the joyful discovery that true abundance is not about having more, but about wanting less. By bringing this gentle, conscious awareness to what we take into our bodies, our homes, and our minds, we heal our relationship with the world and with ourselves. We have now assembled a powerful toolkit for a wiser and more peaceful life. We have practices for calming the mind, for watching our thoughts, for embracing impermanence, for cultivating gratitude, for opening the heart with loving kindness, and for engaging with the world through mindful work and consumption. The final step in our journey together is to learn how to weave these threads into a beautiful tapestry, how to architect a truly sacred and restorative end to our day, creating the perfect inner and outer conditions for a deep, healing, and peaceful sleep. We have now traveled far on this inner journey. We have gathered a rich and powerful toolkit for navigating the challenges of our lives and for cultivating a heart of wisdom and peace. We have the anchor of the breath, the spaciousness of mindful observation, the profound insight of impermanence, the nourishing practice of gratitude, the boundless warmth of loving kindness, and the conscious integrity of mindful work and consumption. The question now becomes a practical one. How do we, as the architects of our own lives, assemble these beautiful materials into a structure that can provide us with a genuine sanctuary at the end of each day? How do we design an evening that doesn't just lead to sleep, but that actively cultivates peace? To do this, let us use a helpful metaphor. Think of your mind, after a long day of work and stimulation, as a large airplane flying at 35,000 feet and traveling at over 500 miles per hour. When it is time to land, the pilot cannot simply switch off the engines and hope for the best. To do so would not be a landing, it would be a crash. A skillful landing is a gradual, deliberate, and gentle process. The pilot must slowly reduce speed. They must descend in altitude, stage by stage. They must align the aircraft with the runway and follow a clear approach path. They must lower the landing gear and adjust the flaps. Only after all these careful, sequential steps can the plane make a smooth, safe touchdown. Our minds require a similar descent protocol. We cannot expect to go from the high altitude, high-speed turbulence of modern life to the peaceful stillness of restorative sleep in an instant. We too need to create an evening routine that serves as our gentle, reliable approach path. The first and most critical step in this descent is to initiate a digital sunset. This means setting a firm but gentle curfew for all of your screens at least 60 and preferably 90 minutes before your intended bedtime. This includes your phone, your tablet, your computer, and your television. The reasons for this are both biological and psychological. Biologically, the blue-toned light emitted by these screens is a powerful signal to our brains that it is still daytime. It actively suppresses the production of melatonin, the crucial hormone that tells our body it is time to become sleepy. Psychologically, the content we consume on these screens is almost always designed to do the exact opposite of what we need for rest. The news provokes anxiety, social media triggers comparison and envy, and thrilling dramas activate our stress response. Turning off our screens is the equivalent of the pilot beginning to reduce the engine's thrust. It is the single most powerful signal we can send to our nervous system that the high-speed flight of the day is over and we are preparing to land. This is not an act of deprivation. It is the act of creating a sacred, protected space of time for your own sanity. Now, a quiet space has been created. How do we fill it? We replace the agitating energy of our screens with activities that are calming and nourishing. This is the next stage of our descent. Consider creating a menu of peaceful, analog activities. You might turn to a book, but not a stimulating thriller or a work-related text. Choose something that soothes the soul, gentle poetry, a book on philosophy or spirituality, or a comforting, familiar novel. You could also replace the noise of television or podcasts with sound that is intentionally calming. Listen to soft, ambient music, the sounds of nature like rainfall or ocean waves, or a gentle Dharma talk that reinforces the themes we have been exploring. Another powerful practice is to engage in a brain dump through journaling. Take a simple notebook and write down anything that is still circling in your mind. The worries, the anxieties, the to-do list for tomorrow. The physical act of getting these thoughts out of your head and onto paper releases your mind from the burden of having to continuously rehearse them. It is a way of saying to your mind, "Thank you, I've got this. You can rest now." Or you might simply engage in a quiet, connecting conversation with a partner, not about logistics or problems, but about the simple texture of your day, fostering connection before sleep. As our mind begins to slow down, we can also attend to the body. Throughout the day, we accumulate tension in our physical forms. Our shoulders creep up toward our ears, our jaws clench, our backs tighten. This is the body's armor against stress. The next stage of our descent is to gently remove this armor. This does not mean a vigorous workout, which would be stimulating. Instead, it involves just a few minutes of slow, mindful stretching. You might gently roll your neck from side to side, feeling the release of tension. You could slowly shrug your shoulders up to your ears, and then let them drop with a sigh. A gentle forward fold can release the lower back. The key is to link these simple movements with your breath, making it a body-based meditation, consciously breathing into the areas of tightness and breathing out a sense of release. Now, our speed has been reduced. Our altitude is lowered. We are on the final approach. As you get into your bed, you can begin the final, sacred rituals that will bring the plane to a perfect touchdown. This is where we bring in the core practices we have learned. First, the gratitude contemplation. Close your eyes, and as we have practiced, bring to mind 3 specific, concrete things from your day for which you feel genuinely thankful. Linger on each one. Feel the warmth of appreciation in your body. Let this feeling of contentment be the emotional ground upon which you will rest. This practice assures your heart that you are safe, that you are blessed, that all is well. After bathing the mind in gratitude, you can move to the final practice of loving kindness. Silently, gently, repeat the phrases of Metta for yourself. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. Feel the boundless, unconditional friendliness filling your own being. If you wish, you can then extend this feeling to a loved one or to all beings everywhere. To make loving kindness the very last conscious act of your day is to surround your mind with the ultimate protection, the ultimate feeling of safety and connection as you drift into sleep. This is the architecture of a peaceful evening. It is a customizable template, not a rigid set of rules. Perhaps for you, a warm bath with essential oils is a key component. Perhaps it is a cup of herbal tea. The key is the underlying principle, a conscious, gradual, and kind transition from the state of doing to the state of being, from stimulation to serenity. But even the most skilled pilot with the most perfect flight plan sometimes encounters unexpected turbulence. What happens when you follow this routine perfectly and you still find yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning? What happens when life gets chaotic and you fall off the routine entirely for a week? How do we relate to these moments of perceived failure, frustration, and difficulty without creating even more stress for ourselves? This brings us to the crucial practice of self-compassion, of learning how to make a gentle return. We have now designed the architecture for a peaceful evening, a gentle and sacred descent protocol to guide our minds from the turbulence of the day into the quiet harbor of restful sleep. We have our plan, our tools, our intentions. But life, in its infinite creativity, does not always follow our plans. There will be nights when, despite our most sincere efforts, despite the digital sunset, the herbal tea, the gentle stretching, and the heartfelt gratitude practice, we will still find ourselves lying in the dark, our minds racing like a frantic engine that refuses to shut down. There will be weeks when the chaos of life overwhelms our good intentions, and our beautiful routine is forgotten, replaced by late nights staring at a screen. In these moments, a familiar voice often arises, the harsh and unforgiving voice of the inner critic. You failed, it says. You're no good at this. All that effort was for nothing. You've lost all your progress. This voice, which we believe is trying to motivate us, is actually the purveyor of a second, and often more painful, layer of suffering. First, there is the pain of the sleeplessness, or the broken routine itself. Then, there is the added suffering of self-blame, guilt, and frustration. It is to this second layer of suffering that we now turn our attention, with one of the most healing qualities on the entire path, the quality of karuna, or compassion. While its sister quality, metta, is the wish for all beings to be happy, karuna is the tender, trembling wish for all beings to be free from suffering. And so often, the first being that requires this compassionate attention is our own struggling self. The spiritual path is not, as our culture might imagine, a relentless, linear ascent to a perfect, unshakable state of bliss. That is a fantasy of the ego. The path is far more organic, more human. It is like learning to walk. A child does not learn to walk by never falling. The child learns to walk precisely by falling and getting up and falling and getting up again thousands of times. Our practice is the same. It is not about achieving a perfect, uninterrupted state of calm. It is about learning, with infinite patience, how to get back up every time we fall. The goal is not perfection. The goal is gentle, persistent, and compassionate effort. Let us apply this to the microcosm of a single meditation session. You sit down to practice mindfulness of breathing. You rest your attention on the anchor of the breath. Within moments, your mind is gone, lost in a detailed plan for tomorrow's meeting. You eventually realize this, and the inner critic immediately chimes in. There you go again. You can't even focus for 10 seconds. The practice of the gentle return is to first notice that harsh, judgmental voice. You can even smile at it, recognizing its misguided attempt to help. And then, with the same tenderness you would use to guide a lost puppy back home, you simply, gently, without any drama or fuss, escort your attention back to the sensation of the breath. That is all. 10 seconds later, the mind may be gone again, this time lost in a memory from the past. The process is identical. Notice, let go, gently return. This cycle, getting lost and gently returning, is not a sign that you are failing at meditation. This cycle is the meditation. Every return is a moment of victory, a strengthening of the muscle of awareness and the heart of compassion. Now, let us apply this same principle to the macrocosm of our lives. You've had a difficult week. You've abandoned your evening routine, fallen back into old habits, and your mind feels as turbulent as ever. The inner critic arrives with its heavy narrative of failure. You've ruined it. You have to start all over from scratch. The practice of the gentle return invites a different response. First, you acknowledge what has happened without judgment. Okay, this week was hard. I fell back into old patterns of seeking distraction. Then, you offer yourself a dose of karuna. You recognize the very human need that was driving the behavior. I was feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, and I was seeking comfort. And then, with the simplicity and grace of a sunrise, you just begin again. Not tomorrow, not next Monday. You begin again, right now, with the very next breath. The past is a dream. The only moment you can ever practice in is this one. There is no progress to be lost, because the path is not a line. It is a series of present moments, and each moment offers a brand new opportunity to be mindful, to be kind. There is a simple story of an eager but frustrated student who came to his spiritual master. "Master," he said, "I am trying so hard, but I keep failing. I try to be mindful, but I get lost in thought. I try to be patient, but I lose my temper. I try to be generous, but I act out of selfishness. I am constantly falling down. What is the secret of this path?" The master looked at the student with a kind and steady gaze and said, "The secret of the path is not about how to avoid falling down." The student was perplexed. "Then what is it, master?" The master replied, "It is about how you get up. This is the entire practice in a nutshell. It is a lifelong training in the art of getting up. The quality of your practice is not determined by how long you can stay focused, but by the quality of kindness you bring to the moment you realize you have been lost. It is the cultivation of a new inner voice. Most of us live with a harsh inner critic as our constant companion. Its voice is perfectionistic, demanding, and full of judgment. It compares us to others and always finds us lacking. It uses absolute words like always and never. Its primary tool is shame. The path is about learning to recognize this voice and consciously choosing to cultivate and listen to a different one, the voice of the inner teacher, the inner friend. This is the voice of karuna. Its tone is gentle, understanding, encouraging, and forgiving. It acknowledges our humanity. It sees our stumbles not as failures, but as opportunities to learn. Its primary tool is kindness. So when you find yourself lying awake at 3 in the morning, your mind racing, the practice is not to berate yourself for being awake. That is like pouring gasoline on a fire. The practice is to first offer yourself compassion. This is difficult. The mind is agitated right now. May I be patient with this experience? Then, instead of fighting the wakefulness, you can use it as an opportunity for practice. You can rest your attention on the breath. You can practice metta for yourself and for all the other people in the world who are also lying awake at this very moment. You can transform this moment of perceived failure into a moment of quiet, sacred practice. This gentle return is the most sustainable and compassionate way to walk any path of growth. It is what allows us to continue for a lifetime, through all the seasons of our lives. It replaces the tense, striving energy of the perfectionist with the resilient, joyful energy of the kind practitioner. When we truly learn to treat ourselves with this radical kindness, when we stop waging war on our own imperfections, a profound and stable peace begins to settle into our bones. And this inner gentleness, this compassionate acceptance of our own humanity, does not remain an internal secret. It naturally, without any effort, begins to change the very way we experience and interact with the world from the moment we open our eyes in the morning. Having learned to meet our stumbles and setbacks with the profound kindness of self-compassion, we begin to discover a peace that is not fragile, a calm that is not dependent on being perfect. This gentle acceptance we cultivate in the quiet moments of our practice is not meant to be a hidden secret, reserved only for the meditation cushion or the pre-sleep ritual. It is a seed. And when this seed is planted and watered in the fertile darkness of the night, it naturally, inevitably, sprouts into the daylight of our waking lives. The practice of sleeping in gratitude is not just about transforming our nights, it is about fundamentally transforming our days. The way we wake up sets the energetic and emotional keynote for the entire day. For many of us, the process of waking is an abrupt and anxious one. The alarm clock blares, and instantly, the mind is flooded with a tidal wave of pressure. The day's to-do list, the emails we need to answer, the problems we need to solve. We often reach for our phones before our feet even touch the floor, immediately immersing ourselves in the chaotic currents of news, social media, and other people's demands. We begin our day from a place of deficit, of pressure, of reactivity. The mindful path offers a different way to begin. It invites us to make the very first conscious moment of our day an intentional act of peace and gratitude. Before you move, before you check your phone, before you plan, simply arrive. Arrive in your body, which has been resting and repairing itself all night. Arrive in your breath, the faithful companion that has been with you through the darkness. And in that first quiet moment, you can offer a simple, silent word of thanks. Thank you for this new day. Thank you for the gift of being alive. Thank you for the opportunity to learn, to love, and to practice once more. To begin your day with this simple acknowledgement of grace is to start from a place of fullness, not lack. It is to set your inner compass to a true north of appreciation before you even take your first step. This intentional beginning, combined with a night of mindfully cultivated peace, has a profound effect on our reactivity throughout the day. A mind that has been allowed to rest in feelings of gratitude and self-compassion is fundamentally different from a mind that has spent the night wrestling with anxiety. It is like the difference between a deep, calm ocean and a shallow, turbulent puddle. The puddle is disturbed by every passing breeze, every falling stone, but the deep ocean can absorb immense disruption on its surface, while its vast depths remain perfectly still and silent. When your mind has that quality of depth, the inevitable frustrations of the day have less power to hijack you. The traffic jam, the spilled coffee, the critical email from your boss, these are like stones thrown onto the surface. While they may create a momentary ripple, they no longer have the power to churn your entire being into a storm of anger and stress. The space between the event and your reaction to it becomes wider. In that space, you have a choice. You can choose to breathe. You can choose to respond with clarity, rather than reacting with unconscious fury. Your baseline state is one of peace, and you have a calm center to which you can always return. Furthermore, the nightly practice of searching for things to be grateful for actively retrains your perception of the world. Our brains are pattern recognition machines. If we spend our time focusing on what is wrong, what is threatening, and what is annoying, we train our brains to become incredibly efficient at spotting those things. The world then appears to be a hostile and frustrating place. The gratitude practice is a form of cognitive retraining. By consciously and repeatedly searching for moments of beauty, kindness, and grace each night, you are training your brain to notice those patterns during the day. You begin to develop what could be called gratitude glasses. You start to spontaneously notice the kindness of a stranger holding a door open. You find yourself appreciating the intricate beauty of a spider's web or the taste of a fresh piece of fruit. The world itself has not changed, but your capacity to perceive its inherent goodness has been magnified. Life begins to feel more like a generous gift, and less like a difficult problem to be solved. We can think of our mind as a garden. Left untended, it will naturally be overgrown by the weeds of anxiety, resentment, comparison, and fear. This is the default state of the untrained mind. The evening routine we have, designed the digital sunset, the gentle reading, the journaling is the act of weeding this garden. And the core practices of gratitude and loving kindness are the acts of consciously planting beautiful seeds and enriching the soil. They are the seeds of peace, of contentment, of compassion, of joy. When we do this work in the evening, we are not just tidying up the garden of the day that has passed. We are preparing a beautiful, flourishing garden for ourselves to wake up to in the morning. When the sun rises, we step out into an inner landscape that is fragrant with peace and filled with nourishing fruits. Our task during the day is then to enjoy this garden, to continue tending it with mindful moments, so that the harvest of well-being continues day after day. This inner state of peace and appreciation does not remain a private, internal experience. It inevitably radiates outward and changes our relationships with others. We cannot offer a peace that we do not ourselves possess. When we are operating from a place of inner turmoil and lack, we tend to be demanding, critical, and impatient with those around us. We see them through the lens of what they can do for us, or how they are failing us. But when we move through the world with a heart that has been softened by gratitude and a mind that is anchored in calm, we show up as a different person. We become a more patient parent, a more understanding partner, a more compassionate colleague, a kinder stranger. People can feel the quality of our presence. A calm mind creates a space of safety for others. Our own practice becomes a quiet, unspoken gift to everyone we meet, a small contribution of peace to an often unpeaceful world. So you see, the peace we cultivate in the darkness of the night is not for the night alone. It is a gift we are sending forward in time to the person we will be tomorrow. By ending the day in gratitude, we are creating a more grateful tomorrow. By ending the day with compassion for ourselves, we are creating a more compassionate tomorrow. We are creating a positive, self-reinforcing loop of well-being. We have now seen how to plant these seeds of peace, how to tend the garden of the mind, and how to harvest its fruits in our daily lives. We have learned to work with our turbulent minds, to open our guarded hearts, and to live with greater intention and kindness. This journey has been a profound one, but it leads to a final, ultimate question. Where is this path taking us? What is the final destination? What is the nature of the true, unshakable peace that all of these practices are pointing toward? We began this journey together with a simple, human problem. A restless mind in the quiet of the night, a heart burdened by the pressures of modern life. We sought a practical remedy, a way to find peace, and we discovered a powerful practice, the simple, nightly ritual of sleeping in gratitude. We have seen how this practice can calm the nervous system, transform the quality of our sleep, and plant the seeds for a more joyful and appreciative day. But now, as we draw nearer to the heart of this ancient path, it is time to lift our gaze, to see that the simple tool we have been using is, in fact, a key that opens a door to a reality far more vast and liberating than we might have imagined. The practice of gratitude is not just a technique for better sleep. It is a profound and direct path to spiritual liberation. At its deepest level, the consistent practice of gratitude is a powerful solvent for the ego. The ego, that sense of a solid, separate I, builds its fortress on a story of self-sufficiency. Its narrative is one of personal achievement. I earned this salary. I built this business. I possess this talent. It fosters a sense of entitlement, the belief that we are owed certain things by life. This story is the very source of our isolation. Gratitude, however, tells a different, truer story. It is the story of interbeing. When we are truly grateful for our successes, we cannot honestly claim them as solely our own. We see the network of support from friends, family, and colleagues. We see the privilege of our education, the luck of being in the right place at the time, the countless known and unknown factors that contributed to our triumph. Pride begins to dissolve into humility and appreciation. When we practice gratitude for the very fact of our existence, for our body, our mind, our life, we see that it is all an unearned gift. We did not create ourselves. We are the result of a chain of causes and conditions stretching back through millennia, a confluence of stardust, evolution, and ancestral love. The ego's claim of being a self-made entity is revealed as a fiction, and when we take the courageous step of being grateful, even for our challenges, we see them not as personal attacks, but as impersonal teachers. The ego's story of victimhood and self-pity cannot survive in a heart that is actively looking for the lesson, for the nourishment in the mud. A mind steeped in genuine gratitude simply cannot sustain the arrogant, isolated, and entitled fortress of the ego. It slowly, gently, and irrevocably dissolves it. This leads to a state of radical acceptance. The opposite of gratitude is complaint. And what is a complaint? At its core, every complaint is an argument with reality. We are protesting that what is happening should not be happening. We are shaking our fist at the rain, resenting the traffic, lamenting a loss. It is a state of constant, exhausting friction with the flow of life. Gratitude is the ultimate peacemaker in this inner war. By choosing to find something to be thankful for in any given moment, we are choosing to say yes to life as it is. This doesn't mean we become passive, or that we stop trying to alleviate suffering in the world. We can still work diligently to change systems of injustice, or to help a friend in need. But we do so from a place of grounded acceptance of the present reality, rather than from a place of bitter, angry resistance. Our actions become more effective, more compassionate, and far less draining, because we are no longer wasting our energy fighting a battle against what is. In this way, gratitude is revealed to be not just a pleasant feeling, but the living, breathing expression of profound wisdom. It is the embodiment of right view. When we are grateful for a simple, joyful moment, we are implicitly acknowledging the truth of anicca, of impermanence. We are appreciating the moment precisely because we know it is fleeting and precious. When we are grateful for a meal, we are seeing the truth of interbeing, recognizing the entire cosmos that is present on our plate. When we are grateful for the path itself, for these very teachings, we are acknowledging the reality of dukkha and the possibility of its end. Gratitude, therefore, is not separate from wisdom. It is what wisdom feels like in the heart. It is the felt sense of seeing things as they truly are. There is a story of a great Zen master who was once visited by a seeker who demanded a display of his power. "If you are truly enlightened," the seeker said, "show me a miracle." The master's students gathered around, expecting him to perform some extraordinary feat, perhaps to levitate, or to make flowers rain from the sky. The master simply smiled and said, "My miracle is this: when I am hungry, I eat, and when I am tired, I sleep." The seeker was insulted. "That's no miracle. Every person on earth does that." The master's smile widened. "No," he replied gently. "When most people eat, they are not truly eating. Their minds are in 1,000 other places worrying about the past, planning for the future. They are chewing their anxieties. When most people try to sleep, they are not truly sleeping. They are wrestling with their fears and desires in their dreams. But when I eat, I just eat. When I sleep, I just sleep." To be completely present, completely at peace with the simple, ordinary acts of life. This is the greatest miracle of all. This is the state that a life of gratitude leads to. The master can be totally present with the act of eating, because his heart is not at war with reality. He is in a state of complete, silent, and grateful acceptance of the gift of food. He has found the sacred within the mundane, the extraordinary within the ordinary. As our practice deepens over months and years, the distinct categories we have explored begin to merge into a seamless whole. In the beginning, we practice mindfulness of the breath as a specific technique. Then we practice gratitude as a separate ritual. Then we practice loving kindness as another distinct exercise. But eventually, the lines blur. A truly mindful breath is suffused with a sense of gratitude for the gift of life. A truly grateful heart is naturally filled with loving kindness for all the beings that make its happiness possible. And a truly compassionate action is born of a mindful awareness of the present moment. Wisdom, gratitude, and compassion are no longer separate tools we pick up and use. They become the very fabric of our being. It is no longer something we do, it is simply what we are. We become a walking, breathing expression of grateful, compassionate awareness. So we see that the humble practice of sleeping in gratitude is not just a sleeping aid, it is a doorway. It is an invitation to walk a path that gently dismantles the ego, that fosters a radical and peaceful acceptance of reality, and that ultimately transforms our entire perception of the world. It leads us toward a state of being where our ordinary life becomes the miracle. This integrated state of being, this complete freedom from our inner wars, this profound and unshakable peace, is the ultimate aim of the path. It has a name. It is the end of all suffering. It is the state known as nirvana. We have traveled together on a long and profound journey. We began with the simple, human desire for a peaceful night's sleep, and in seeking a remedy, we have uncovered an entire path that leads not just to rest, but to a radical and lasting transformation of the heart and mind. We have seen how the simple practice of gratitude, when cultivated deeply, can erode the ego, foster a radical acceptance of reality, and become the living expression of wisdom itself. This journey has brought us to the threshold of the ultimate question. What is the final destination of this path? What is the unshakable peace that all these practices point toward? The name for this ultimate state is one that is often spoken, but rarely understood. It is the state of nirvana. The word nirvana is shrouded in mystery and misconception. It often conjures images of a distant, cloud-filled heaven, a paradise to be attained only after death, or a state of blank, emotionless nothingness. But these are all projections of a mind that has not yet understood its nature. To grasp the true meaning of nirvana, we can start with the literal meaning of the word itself. The root of the word means to extinguish or to blow out, as one would blow out the flame of a candle. This immediately begs the question, what is it that is being extinguished? It is not your life that is extinguished. It is not your personality, your joy, or your uniqueness. What is blown out are the three fires that are the cause of all our suffering. It is the fire of greed, that insatiable, thirsty craving for more. It is the fire of hatred and aversion, that angry, fearful, pushing away of what we don't want. And it is the fire of ignorance, that fundamental delusion of a separate self that is the fuel for the other two fires. Imagine having a high fever for your entire life, a constant, low-grade inflammation of the mind that leaves you restless, agitated, and ill at ease. Nirvana is the complete and final cooling of that fever. It is the end of the frantic seeking, the end of the bitter resisting, the end of the confused and painful dream of being a separate, isolated self. It is not an end to life. It is the end of suffering. It is a state of supreme and perfect mental health. Because nirvana is a state beyond our ordinary conditioned experience, it is perhaps easiest to describe it first by what it is not. It is not a place. You cannot find it on any map. It is not a heaven you go to as a reward for good behavior. It is a quality of mind, a potential within every human heart that can be realized right here in this very life. It is also not a state of annihilation or a blank void. The extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion does not leave behind a cold, empty darkness. Instead, it reveals the natural, radiant, and pristine clarity of the mind that was there all along, just as putting out a smoky, sputtering fire reveals the vast, clear, and silent night sky that was always present behind the smoke. And it is not a state of emotionless indifference. The peace of nirvana is so profound and stable that it becomes the ultimate foundation for the purest forms of love and joy. It is a compassion that is no longer tainted by selfish attachment, and a joy that is not dependent on fleeting external pleasures. So what are the qualities of this state? It is, first and foremost, a state of unshakable peace. It is a deep, abiding tranquility that is not disturbed by the inevitable ups and downs of life, what are known as the 8 worldly winds: pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disrepute. Ordinary happiness is fragile. It is dependent on getting what we want. The peace of nirvana is unconditional. It can coexist with physical pain, with the sorrow of losing a loved one, with the challenges of a difficult world, because its source is not external. Its source is a deep, internal freedom. It is freedom from the compulsive grip of our habits and addictions. It is freedom from the fear of death and the anxieties of the ego. It is the freedom of a mind that has come home to its true nature. And from this freedom arises a radiant clarity, the wisdom that sees reality just as it is, without the distorting filters of craving and aversion. There is a powerful metaphor that can help us to grasp this. Imagine the great ocean. On its surface, there can be tremendous turmoil. There are sunny days when it is placid and sparkling, and there are days of violent storms, with colossal waves, driving winds, and torrential rain. This surface is like our ordinary, everyday consciousness. It is constantly changing, affected by the shifting weather of our external circumstances and our internal moods. We are tossed about by the waves of pleasure and pain, of praise and blame. Now, imagine descending from that turbulent surface, down into the great depths of the ocean, down, 100 feet, 1,000 feet. As you descend, the turmoil of the surface begins to fade. The water becomes still, and in the vast, silent, deep heart of the ocean, there is a profound and absolute stillness. It is completely untouched by the raging storm on the surface. The pressure is immense, but it is a stable, constant pressure. There is a deep, abiding, and imperturbable peace. Our minds possess this same deep dimension. The entire path we have been exploring, calming the mind with the breath, watching our thoughts, understanding impermanence, cultivating gratitude and compassion. Letting go of the ego. This entire path is a journey of descent. It is the journey of learning to access that deep, silent, and peaceful core of our own being. Nirvana is the final discovery, the ultimate realization that we are not just the fleeting, stormy waves on the surface. Our true nature is the vast, deep, and peaceful ocean itself. We learn to abide in that unshakable inner depth, even while the inevitable storms of life continue to pass on the surface. This is the ultimate destination. But it is crucial to understand that nirvana is not a distant, far-off goal that we only reach after decades of striving. The path and the destination are not separate. Every single step we take on this path is a small taste of nirvana, a momentary extinguishing of the fires. Every time you consciously choose to return your attention from a distracting thought back to your breath, in that moment, the fire of craving is momentarily extinguished. That is a taste of nirvana. Every time you feel the impulse to speak a harsh word and you choose, instead, a moment of silence or a word of kindness, the fire of aversion is momentarily extinguished. That is a taste of nirvana. Every time you feel the pull of your own ego, and you choose instead to feel gratitude or compassion for another, the fire of ignorance and separation is momentarily extinguished. That is a taste of nirvana. The path is not a transactional means to an end. It is the gradual and beautiful process of embodying the goal itself, moment by peaceful moment. It is the slow, steady, and joyful process of becoming what we already, in our deepest nature, are. We began this journey together in the quiet darkness of a sleepless night, face to face with the restless, anxious mind that plagues our modern world. From that honest starting point, we have walked a long and ancient path. We diagnosed the universal condition of unease, the subtle suffering of dukkha. We looked bravely at its roots, the fires of greed, aversion, and ignorance that fuel our discontent. But we did not remain in the diagnosis. We were given a map, the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical guide to the end of suffering. We learned to anchor our turbulent minds with the simple, faithful rhythm of the breath. We learned to sit on the bank of the river of our thoughts, watching them pass without being swept away. We confronted the profound truths of impermanence and our deep interconnectedness with all of life. We investigated the very nature of the self and found not a solid entity, but a fluid and wondrous process. And in doing so, we began to release our painful grip of attachment. Through it all, we returned again and again to a single, powerful and transformative practice, the simple cultivation of a grateful heart. And here, at the end of our journey, we arrive at the core message, the essential truth that all of these practices point to. Peace is not a destination. It is not a prize to be won, an achievement to be unlocked, or a commodity to be purchased. It is not waiting for you in a future circumstance when you have more money, a different job, or a perfect relationship. Peace is a quality of the heart. It is a seed that lies dormant within every one of us, waiting to be cultivated. It is an inner garden that we can choose to tend. The simple act of sleeping in gratitude is not just a technique or a life hack. It is the gentle watering of that seed. It is the quiet, loving care for that inner garden. The peace you cultivate in the final moments of your day becomes the peace that greets you in the morning, and the peace that can sustain you through the challenges that follow. You now have the tools. You have the map. You have seen the path laid out before you. There is no need for a special ceremony, a particular belief system, or permission from anyone else to begin. You have everything you need, right now, within you. You have your breath, a constant anchor to the present moment. You have your awareness, the clear, open sky of your own mind. And you have your heart, which possesses the innate capacity for gratitude, for kindness, and for compassion. You can be the physician of your own mind, the architect of your own peace. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and your journey can begin tonight. It can begin with the simple, quiet, and heartfelt acknowledgement of just one thing for which you are truly grateful. Peace is not a distant peak to be conquered, but a quiet home to which you can always and ever return.